In this world, there's two kinds of people, my friend. Those with loaded guns and those who dig. Broadcasting from a Montana wilderness fortress at the headwaters of the Missouri, this is Matt Christiansen Live.
But there's also really great guys that are standing up for the rights of women, that are standing up for the rights of the LGBT community, that are standing up for people of color.
Boo!
That would seemingly be Trump supporters. We're all sitting around, all these men who have these powerful platforms are sitting around watching this happen to women, to communities that you could instead be supporting.
No, I don't think I will.
It's just about being a decent human being.
Okay, but I don't give a fuck.
Because they are sending such positive messaging and they are talking about this. You know, we're going to get Todd Blanche. He's going to be confirmed, and he's going to overturn Roe v. Wade.
I doubt it.
You are fake news.
Ooh, don't do it. Please don't do it.
Very fake news.
Well, are you retarded?
The R word. This is shameful.
I am beyond angry.
Who gives a crap? I don't care.
I award you no points, and may God have mercy on your soul.
All right, America, go to the YouTube right now.
Skag free, whoever he is.
Duct tape all over the place. It's a disgrace.
All right, go. In 5, 4, 3. I can't do it. We'll do it live.
Fuck it, we'll do it live.
Hello and welcome to the show. This is Matt Christiansen Live, a proud duct tape production for Sunday, August 16th. Got my dates wrong. Anyway, August 16th, 2026. Thank you for tuning in. Sitting shotgun tonight. In his usual Sunday seat is the highly regarded Matt Palumbo. Welcome back.
Good to be back.
Saddle up, partner.
In the news for a discussion tonight, Luigi Mangione pleads guilty to federal charges in the 2024 Manhattan murder of United Health CEO Brian Thompson, and his lawyers are arguing this will now excuse him of New York State murder charges on double jeopardy grounds. That will have to be sorted out. I am not a lawyer qualified to tell you whether this is going to succeed or not, but reading into it, this actually is intelligent strategy and might, as a matter of murder, he might get away with it. He pleaded guilty to interstate stalking. But if the double jeopardy protection in New York State actually gets rid of the murder charges that New York was going to prosecute, he will get away with murder as a technical matter.
Does he face life in jail on this stalking charge, though, at least?
He does possibly, although the federal guidelines are something like 30 years. So I mean, this looks like yet another botchery by who else? Pam Bondi.
Yeah.
If the worst case scenario plays out.
Yeah, I'm actually surprised they're going this route because you only need one juror to not convict, and he does. I mean, the percentage of the population that supports him seems to be in the double-digit percentage. So you'd think statistically you get one. So it caught me off guard, I'll say.
Yeah, well, we'll get into that. Also, the youngest black Cambridge professor, Jason Arday, found dead Friday after he resigned from the university, as we discussed last weekend, during a plagiarism scandal. No official cause of death released, but sources say he, quote, could not go on. It looks like a suicide, but we don't have that confirmed.
He plagiarized Hitler's final moments, which is kind of fucked up, if you ask me.
Well, based on his track record, is he in fact dead? We have to.
We actually don't know.
We do need to verify.
Someone was joking that, and it's barely even a joke, that if we get a suicide letter, it's probably going to be an AI prompt that he ran through.
Yeah, please verify that one, since we couldn't verify. I hate to. Okay, it's terrible. The guy has a family.
Here's the thing.
I don't want to cackle at it, but
he preached all this anti-white hatred stuff. That was his whole shtick. So listen, how do you think he felt when Charlie Kirk died? Did he take the high road, or do we think he was going, yes, thank God, and also let's torture the widow for no reason?
Yeah, I mean,
would assume it's probably that.
Even if he did terrible things, I don't want to be the sort of demon person who celebrates death, especially when there's a family involved involved. But the serious takeaways, as we'll get into, you can't build a life based on lies. It's going to come crumbling down, and unfortunately it did in this situation.
And here's my advice. If anyone watching this, if you're ever accused of plagiarism, don't kill yourself. It's really not, I mean, it's a big deal, but it's also, in the grand scheme of things, not that big a deal. So relax.
Especially if you are a revered black academic in need of a redemption story.
Yes.
I guarantee you, if he owned it, he not only could he have returned into public grace, probably could have got a job at Cambridge again.
Well, they all have patronage networks, and I'm seeing this reported by publications that are taking his claims at face value. They're like, the professor who couldn't read and write until he was 18 killed himself. And I'm going, no, that also was one of the lies. Like, you people dance? I guess so.
Well, they didn't learn the lesson to scrutinize claims about him and claims he makes himself, but we'll get into that. James O'Keefe and Cam Higby dress as Muslims to vouch for unregistered votes in Minneapolis. That was a pretty funny clip. We'll take a look at that.
It's good.
Jeanine Pirro is... she's convened a special grand jury after Trump was very angry with her about dismissing the charges against the cyclist guy who was accused of vandalizing the reflecting pool. You're going to explain this one for us. I didn't have time to dig into this.
Yeah.
You'll tell us when we get there, but the DOJ is behaving very bizarrely.
It's very anticlimactic where I'm going to go with it.
Well, thanks for...
We might not find out for like 18 months who it's even targeting. So that's where we're at.
Okay.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Well, I guess there is good suspense there. I was going to say thanks for killing the suspense, but then you brought it back. Thank you.
Yeah.
Plus, of course, we have Hoax Hate to close. Before we get into all of that, got to say hello to our featured listener-owned business for the evening. That's our friends at Sport Drink. Plus, don't forget, my new retro video game is available for pre-order as well. Hey, have you heard I now have a video game? Thanks to our friends at Soren Games, Matt Christiansen Media Mayhem is shipping soon. It is a retro-style Game Boy Color game that will play on any of your devices, your PC, your Mac, your phone, or tablet. Join me in my quest to perfectly cook French fries, 425, bring vehicular justice to cyclists while avoiding ethnic truck drivers, evade Soviet pursuit, and much more, all to achieve my ultimate destiny, confronting the masked journalist, defeating her, and earning the front page hit piece that is rightfully mine, and wearing the coveted golden flannel to mark the achievement. The game is full of bits and references, secrets, and even extra titles from our friends at Soren Games, games within the game. You even get an arcade version of their Leering Center game. Collect the cash and evade the oversight. It's all just $10. Learn more at mattchristiansenmedia.com/game. That's mattchristiansenmedia.com/game to pick up Matt Christiansen Media Mayhem, playable on all your devices. Are you tired of all the nonsense in most of today's athletic beverages? Artificial dyes, artificial sweeteners and flavors, stuff you don't even understand. Put that unpronounceable tiny type ingredient list away and try Sport Drink, a delicious, sparkling blend of electrolyte refreshment to fuel, hydrate, and recover naturally. Available in several different flavors to suit your taste, simple, clean ingredients like lemon powder, lime powder, sea salt. It's an honest, handmade in the USA product from a company that not only isn't pushing any crap, they don't take any crap either. If any journalist dares smear the product's honor, she gets rightfully blasted, and Sport Drink is proud to support America's young athletes with hilarious names in achieving their sporting dreams too. So don't be a stupid bitch and try the official Fago beverage Sport Drink. The listeners of this show get 10% off Sport Drink with promo code Christiansen. That's promo code Christiansen at sport-drink.com for 10% off Sport Drink, real ingredients, real hydration. Sport Drink. Sport Drink is not in fact what plants crave, but it is what you crave, so pick some up today. Check out my retro video game at mattchristiansenmedia.com/game, or yes, mattis.gay/game. That works as well. By the way, if you're interested in that coveted golden flannel edition, it is available only through the Kickstarter pre-order, and there are only 2 days left in the Kickstarter campaign. So you have until Tuesday to get that special signed golden flannel edition. But yes, the game will still be available for purchase after that as well. As far as deals, check out mattchristiansenmedia.com/deals for all of my special offers from listener-owned businesses, deals by listeners. For listeners, lastly, before we get into some news, one piece of housekeeping. As I mentioned on Wednesday, I will be on vacation this coming week, family vacation. So looking forward to a little relaxation, some time with the kids and my wife and my parents. But that means there will be no normal production this week. So there won't be short videos. The Wednesday stream will be off. That's August 19th. We won't have the stream that night, but the regular schedule will resume next weekend, August 26th. So no time off for the highly regarded Matt Palumbo. He reports to work
Story
as
of
scheduled.
my life.
Always. Your request from HR has been denied.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. We have a WNBA update.
Who cares?
Last weekend, when last we left the story, remember, Matt, the WNBA was amid a dilemma after many in their league had advocated for so-called transgender rights. Two former NBA players called their bluff. Enes Kanter Freedom and Royce White, they say they are now women. They are declaring their eligibility for the WNBA draft. They are trans kids who belong, just like Cheryl Reeve of the Minnesota Lynx and her t-shirt said. And so they're hoping to be drafted in the WNBA draft next spring. The WNBA's collective bargaining agreement has no clear definition of what a woman actually is. It says only women are eligible, but it doesn't define the term. If these guys say they're women, they may in fact be eligible women for WNBA.
That is their rules.
Yeah, player purposes. So the dilemma for the league is either stick by their delusional activism and allow these men to play, or acknowledge that men are in fact men and women are in fact women, and women therefore can't, or men therefore can't play in the WNBA. Now, if you remember, for several days, WNBA Commissioner Kathy Engelbert avoided the issue, and she said that team presidents and general managers would consider this matter at their scheduled meeting on Wednesday. And this league is actually run by authentic women, not trans women, because they did the authentic woman thing. After the meeting, they had no decision. They could not decide on anything. They have zero solutions, but they do have plenty of blame for other people. They also made themselves victims. So it is an authentically female league, that's for sure. Instead of deciding on a policy and explaining it, the WNBA released a statement that reads in part, today's meeting covered a wide range of topics, including ongoing discussions on transgender athletes and the continued hate and vitriol directed at players online.
Good.
We will continue to engage all league stakeholders. In the coming weeks and months, we will approach these important conversations thoughtfully and in alignment with the values of our league. And a league spokesperson added, there is no immediate eligibility matter affecting the WNBA, and we strongly denounce the bad faith efforts to use these topics to demean or marginalize others. Now, as we observed on Sunday, Matt, there is, in fact, an immediate eligibility matter affecting the WNBA. Can these stunning and brave bearded women put on a WNBA jersey and play or not?
They need to know. Daily Wire movie or something?
There was Lady Ballers, and then people talk about Joanna Man, which I've never seen. You seen that movie?
Is it like the name is supposed to sound like I Am a Man or
something like that? It's about a guy who plays women's basketball. Mm-hmm. It's a movie, so I've never seen it.
Of course. Unironically, listen, the whole reason to be against, guys in women's sports is because you're taking away women's opportunities. But politically speaking, I don't think there's a single Republican in the entire sport, except maybe that one blonde chick, Sophie Cunningham. So they all support it. In theory, if you were to question everyone, including Caitlin Clark, she always she's a victim of a race war, and yet she'll still defend these women attacking her. So
she at least won't say anything in her own defense. That's
she wasn't. Sure. Yeah. So the thing is, they're kind of asking for it, and but by it I mean transgender athletes. So why not have the funniest sports league of all time and actually make the WNBA relevant? I'll watch every game if this happens.
The actual intrigue with the WNBA continues. And actually, whether they are just being women about making the decision here and not making a decision and playing victim, or maybe they're being smart, because allowing this to drag out actually continues the record intrigue, the record interest in their league. Now, that's going to expire at some point if they never actually address it. But the smartest thing they can do business-wise is say yes to the men or do this non-decision thing that leaves the possibility open, because people will continue to pay attention to the WNBA for that reason. Indeed, this is the most attention I've ever paid to the WNBA. I don't think in the history of all the streams I've ever done have I talked about the WNBA 2 Sundays in a row. That's so we need to move on is the point.
Well, I was going to say my last point. I think I said this last week, that the only way they could then recall their bluff is say, well, we have a requirement now where you need to be on hormones for a year or some time period to see how much you'll commit. But then again, that's transphobic because not everyone can afford hormones. And how are we going to deny their lived, whatever the hell they said?
We had an emailer on Wednesday suggest that they would open that they would stick by their transgender policy preferences and publicly open the door to these men, but privately every team would conspire to blackball them and say they're not good enough to play in the WNBA, so they could save face that way.
It would be hilarious.
But I don't think the league has either. They can't offer the incentives to teams to do that, because the incentive for teams to draft these guys is making money and winning the championship. And they don't. What's the stick that they can punish them with? There's not an obvious deterrence they can deploy.
There's going to be one team who goes, hey, I want to win games.
Yes.
And that's all it takes. So,
yeah.
But enough in WNBA.
Just in case you think these women of the WNBA need a backhand, there's also a new woman-beating scandal in the Maine Senate race.
Oh, great.
Did Graham Plattner rape you?
Did Troy Jackson slap you? That's the question for his second cousin. We need to hear from this woman who is not his wife, but the father of his children. So recall Troy Jackson, the guy who has kids with this second cousin. He's selected by Democrats to replace Graham Plattner, who resigned from the race for being too Nazi, or not too Nazi, not too commie, too rapey. That's what he was, too rapey. So they get rid of him for that reason. And you refresh my memory, Matt. Previously, you had mentioned an allegation that he slapped a woman. I don't know if this is the same one or new detail on the existing one.
I believe it's he's been with the same woman since the 80s, so I think it's got to be the same woman. But I think there was also, if I recall correctly, like an assault with a water bottle, and we were wondering.
Oh, that's right.
Did he throw it like a full water bottle? Did he do like one of those bottle rocket things from middle school? It was very unclear.
I love those. I had a lot of fun with those on 4th of July.
I mean, maybe his defense is this woman keeps acting up and he has no choice but to,
Maybe this woman is about to tell everyone, hey, he's actually my second cousin, and he has to maintain her shutting up.
Yes.
Anyway, I don't know. There's no water bottle in this one, so presumably this is a second allegation. It's not actually from the woman. It's by a guy who witnessed it. So a longtime friend of Jackson's, this is a male, Kim McBriarty, a guy named Kim, says he saw Jackson open hand slap, again, his second cousin, not wife, mother of his children. Supposedly happened outside a bar in St. Francis, Maine, along the Canadian border, at an unknown time many years ago. There's also a police report that's emerged from 1988 in nearby Fort Kent, Maine, which alleges Jackson, who was 19 at the time, broke into a home and grabbed a man by the throat and punched him in the face so hard that his glasses cut his face. Why? Because the guy supposedly had some kind of relationship with, yes, Jackson's beloved second cousin. So if the allegations are true, turns out the Pawn Stars meme from a week or two back, that was incorrect. If not Graham Plattner and rape, the best they can do is violence against women and incest, okay? It's both. We get the violence against women regardless.
We have one guy who's a burglar, and then the other guy wants to rape burglars. Those are the two. So I guess Graham Plattner has the moral high ground here.
I forgot the face-off, but so all we have to do is plant Jackson's second cousin in the home of Graham Plattner and figure out what the hell happens. If there's a live stream of that you want to tune into that even more than the Royce White, Enos Cantor WNBA game. Hey, speaking of rape, No, as Sargon says, I wouldn't
never.
even.
No, is that
but
like Lena Dunham or something?
The reason I bring this up is because Lena Dunham, I think she's lost weight actually, or maybe I can't remember.
Good for her. She's horrible in every way.
At some point, it's like Dank to Moss. The only way you can go is down. But somehow they keep expanding. I don't know. The Democrat Socialists of America, they've had a hard time dealing with rape as a matter of crime and justice. Now, a few weeks back, you and I saw that clip of Nick Shirley talking to that New York City woman about loving communism and not wanting rapists in prison because she was raped and she sees her rapist on the street all the time, and putting him in prison would not change his heart. Something to that effect. On Wednesday, we listened to a DSA national leader, like a leader of the actual national party, on an LA news broadcast, unable to say that rapists should be in prison because she doesn't want to discuss hypotheticals, as though rape only happens hypothetically. Yeah, it's just like an academic consideration. It doesn't happen in practice. Well, on Thursday in New York City, self-described socialist state assemblywoman Emily Gallagher held a press conference outside Manhattan Criminal Court.
That's a huge bitch.
She was joined by members of Court Watch NYC, and they say that they have watched hundreds of criminal arraignments for several days. At least half of those arraignments were for misdemeanor crimes, meaning what they see as a huge percentage of New York City crime being just petty stuff. Very hungry people. In fact, crimes of need, crimes of poverty. That's how they're characterizing these things. It's people only stealing the necessities, and really we ought to protect that. The real criminals are the people running the grocery stores and the convenience stores.
Most of what we saw were crimes of poverty. People who were stealing things like toothpaste, people who were stealing things like, soap. And that means if you're stealing those things, you need them. And we are choosing to protect billion-dollar companies like CVS and Walgreens over the people who are struggling to get by. So I would say that the true crime is that there is such incredible wealth disparity in this city that there are people who can be thrown in jail simply for having a biological need. And so one of the things that I'm fighting for at the state level is to make sure we pass things like treatment, not jail, and that we hold the line on the incredible criminal justice reforms that we have done over the last 10 and 20 years that are constantly being threatened by right-wing media who are looking to fearmonger about people who are actually just in absolute dire straits.
Okay. Now, Matt, you are in the New York City area.
Yes.
I'm just a faraway outsider. Can you confirm to me that the New York City justice system and indeed New York State politics are run by, or at least heavily influenced by, right-wing media?
We have pretty much no representation there, no. At any level.
You're not pulling the strings?
No, I think the Republicans only have 5 seats in the city council. I think there's either 50 or 51 total. They obviously don't have majorities in either the state Senate or House, and the governor is a Democrat. I think every statewide office is a Democrat. So, yeah, no. In fact, I think there's more Democratic Socialists in the New York City Council than there are Republicans. So the GOP is technically a third party by that grouping. So, no, we have no... And the Republicans, too, in New York are like... 1 or 2 of them were Democrats within the past few years. Like it's not the same kind of Republican you'd see in, like, Tennessee or Montana
just
or somewhere.
Maybe are, like, hesitant, straight-up communists.
Correct.
They've drawn some line.
Centrists who are, I guess marginally right of center, but no, there's really no right-wing influence. And the thing about leftism is it's all just contingent on not thinking about the second-order effects of anything you do. And that what would the reality be if we said there's no consequence for stealing certain items, whether it be food, soap, toothbrushes, etc. Is I mean, listen, if that's the rule, then why would I pay for them even if I can afford them?
Well,
if we're just giving leeway, everyone's going to take advantage of it, then we're going to see shortages of those items, or they're going to be locked up. And it's amazing because anywhere we go, and this is only in blue areas, where you go in CVS and it's like you were in prison because everything is locked up, the people who live there cannot put 2 and 2 together. They don't think to themselves, hey, that's weird because or that's obviously happening because there's massive shoplifting. It's, oh, these corporations are trying to make it harder for us, and they're trying to get one over on us. And
I couldn't believe that because we don't have the stuff. We don't have those like locking mechanisms at, say, the Target or the Walmart here in Bozeman, Montana, because the crime wave is not hit here. But I remember about 2 years ago being at the Target in St. Paul, Minnesota, trying to get a few items while my family was traveling around. And we needed baby formula. We needed an assistant to get baby formula. In fact, if you want deodorant, toothpaste, all the things. So a lot of needy people in St. Paul, Minnesota, just taking the things that they need. Now, first of all, I will say that this woman, in addition to being dishonest about the political makeup of the legislative bodies in New York City, has defeated her own argument just by putting herself on display, because clearly this is a person who has stolen much more than she personally needs.
Bingo.
I've never seen an emaciated person be put forward to make this argument. Like, surely there must be one. Like, even if it's not bits of poverty, the guy's like bulimic or something.
Yeah.
For optics alone, why not just grab that guy and go, hey, pretend you're starving, because you're hungry or
she frames it as protecting the rights of these multi-billion-dollar companies, CVS and the rest. It is protecting their rights, but it's not over the supposedly needy people in the way that you're saying. Everyone has a right not to be stolen from, because indeed everyone has a right to their property. And we don't enforce those rights based on perceived need, because that's commie nonsense. Everyone has that right equally. Everyone gets the benefit of enforcement against the abuse of that right equally. And you're exactly right that if you actually want wealth, if you want to build the sort of success that will indeed lift all boats, you must maintain property rights. Wealth is built. It is not stolen. If you enable stealing even at the petty level, you will not achieve wealth. Why would anyone, as you were saying, build any sort of wealth, success, prosperity if anyone can just come and take it at any point and face no consequence? That is how you get destruction, not construction. Yeah. But I can't believe this woman right here does not have wisdom about discipline, being constructive, building cool things. If there ever was a face of taking, I've never seen a more takey face than this one. Put everything you have here, feed me.
The only time I've ever seen socialists actually try to create wealth and have it be their socialist way is when they'll form businesses that are this worker-owned cooperative structure where you and your socialist buddies, it's basically just you all have equity in a company, and it's a way that you're collectively owning the means of production. But it's always like a coffee shop or a feminist bookstore. It's never like a serious business that's actually going to produce anything of value. So they're just, it's all, their whole MO is just, let's find something worth a lot of money that has already been built and has only been able to be built because of an economic system we're against, and then try to loot and plunder it. But there's never a replacement. There's never any way to keep the system sustained. It's just it's like the business equivalent of stripping a house for copper wire. It's just chaos.
Speaking of feminist bookstores, I love that bit on Portlandia. I'm sure you've seen it.
But you hear they got
they have enforced their property rights. If you remember them, like
they got canceled by the bookstore.
Did they? Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
they didn't like how they were being portrayed, even though it was literally a 1-for-1 of how they act.
That show was such great parody, but the way those feminists, the feminists at the feminist bookstore, Fred Armisen dressed as a woman, and Carrie what's-her-face, Brownstein, I think, who was an actual or is an actual woman, but I shouldn't say was. That's weird. Anyway, when it comes down to it, when they perceive threats against their property, they actually enforce against their own, they protect their own property rights. But everybody does that. That's the thing. You can talk about how, multi-billion-dollar company, it doesn't matter if you steal from them. I guarantee you, if you steal a Snickers bar from this woman, she wants you in prison for life.
Yeah. Yeah, but, the whole prison abolition people, because obviously they get hung up on like the rape question or murder, but I want someone to be more specific and say, well, what about like Derek Chauvin or the officer who killed Michael Brown, or like these hot button cases they use as evidence the country is irredeemably racist? Like, I think that would really put them to the test, and they can't answer the question because they they want them to be in jail, but ideologically they have to pretend otherwise. Like, everyone has exemptions. There's no real prison abolitionists. I think I said this last episode. Angela Davis has written books on this. She's, I think, kind of started the whole prison abolition movement. When she was in Russia, she was justifying everyone in the Gulag system. So so they're all for prison. It's just, who is it for? And apparently being a capitalist in her eyes is worse than a rapist or a murderer.
Well, we also have some Iran updates.
Great.
Why the fuck is the gas so high, bitch?
Now, I assume that he's joking. Maybe he's not. This is one of those Trump statements where I'm not exactly sure how to interpret it. But since we can't get Iran to play ball on either the nuclear deal or the Strait of Hormuz lately, Trump said on Friday that the U.S. will just make the Strait of Hormuz a U.S. territory. But that, of course, is after we finish defeating Iran. So who knows when the hell that is. Here is Trump saying it. This was a police academy event. He was promoting the reduction in crime lately. It's in Long Island on Friday.
Pretty soon I'll be declaring the Hormuz Strait a territory of the United States. Essentially, that's what it is. We have the blockade. No ships get through unless we want them to.
So we went from Iran is very desperate to negotiate, can't wait to make a deal. Now we need a permanent military occupation of a major waterway on account of Iran's sustained hostility. So, life comes at you fast. Yeah. But we'll see how that goes.
If we can monetize that, why not? That's the problem with the war, is there's no tangible thing we're actually gaining from this. It's all theoretical.
Unless, as we were talking about before live, you make the right investments at the right time.
Yes. When Trump tanks the market, buy. That was our discussion.
Which, anybody who has money to invest, if you haven't observed that truth over the recent months, then I don't know what you're looking at. But the suspicion being, obviously, that there's big-time money being made with insider information on this stuff, or at least there was when it was less obvious that the things that he puts out on Truth Social move the market down temporarily significantly until it bounces right back up.
Yep.
And during that same speech, Trump said that $4 gas is just a little increase. And clearly, it's a worthwhile deal in exchange for a non-nuclear Iran.
So I just say this. So for you to pay a tiny little bit more for your gasoline, just remember you're doing it so that a very evil country cannot have a country. Really, it's the #1 state sponsor of terror in the world. We don't want to have them have a nuclear weapon. So remember that when you have to pay a little bit more, you're at $4. It's okay. I mean, it's I'm not. I'll never apologize. I did the right thing. But you could, if you didn't have.
It's definitely a no for me, though.
So his campaign promises were lower prices and no new wars.
Over 2 on those. Now, I filled up the car for the family vacation yesterday, and I tell you what, I don't think the deal's that obvious. I would actually prefer $2 gasoline and a nuclear Iran if I'm willing. I'll be willing to risk it. Tell you.
The thing is, listen, if everything goes to plan and it really does permanently stop Iran from being a nuclear power, it's worth it. It's just we've been told they've been a week away from having a nuclear weapon for 20 years now.
Yeah.
And then we're told we decimated them, but okay, not fully. We still have. It's just nothing we've been told for the past however many months has been true.
And you can't, even if it is a worthwhile deal, the message that it's just a little increase is number one, wrong. It's entirely contrary to the reason you were elected. Trump in 2024, the fall of 2024, campaigning on economic issues to win that election. Energy is going to bring us back. That means we're going down and getting gasoline below $2 a gallon, bringing down the price of everything from electricity rates to groceries, airfares, and housing costs. That has not happened. Yeah. And even if you take the perspective that it is a worthwhile deal, the messaging that if you are feeling the pain of $4 gasoline, not just at the pump filling your own car, but all the secondary effects of that in terms of the cost of everything else you buy, that it's just a little increase. What's the big deal, man? It clearly is not, insofar as it was a focus of your campaign in 2024.
And as he said, it's a ripple effect. I mean, a while back, maybe 1 or 2 years ago, J.D. Vance was asked, what is your plan to lower, I think, grocery prices was one of the things the interviewer said, and he gave the answer of energy being, causing cost push inflation, and that, hey, if the price of energy goes up, well, then the cost of transporting things to the grocery store goes up, the cost of refrigerating your eggs goes up, blah, blah, blah. Therefore, lower energy prices are key to bringing down the price of everything else. Obviously, they're aware of that. So, no, yeah, it's far worse than just a little increase, as you're saying.
That wasn't even the worst Trump messaging on Iran of the last few days. This week, reports claimed a bunch of problems and low sailor and marine morale on the USS Abraham Lincoln. This is our aircraft carrier in the Middle East. The ship has been on deployment for over 260 days. Most of the sailors and Marines on the ship have not left the ship since December, as in they have not been off that ship on land this year, 2026. And that is because there's a lot of danger of the ports in the Middle East region. So they just haven't brought the ship into port for that entire time. Now, on Friday, the Navy Secretary announced that the USS Lincoln will now return to San Diego. It's going to get replaced in that region by the USS George Washington to maintain this blockade and our continued presence involving the conflict with Iran. And I'm sure, even though they're quoting military families, a lot of these reports, I'm sure that some of these allegations of bad conditions and low morale are exaggerated by media and Democrats for political gain. However, the point remains, this military conflict was advertised as something quick and easy, like Venezuela was. It hasn't turned out that way. Clearly, it's not that way. Asked by reporters whether this deployment for the Lincoln crew has been too long, Trump responded, not nearly long enough, actually.
What else do I have to say?
Family members of U.S. service members are concerned about the conditions on board the USS Lincoln.
Well, no, that ship is moving. No, they're not. That ship is moving right now, or very shortly, and it's being replaced with another very similar ship.
Has the deployment's gone on too long?
No. Not nearly long enough. Thank you, everybody.
That's incorrect.
Well, if it's not nearly long enough, why don't you just leave the ship there?
That's one way to do it.
Why bring the ship home if it hasn't been there nearly long enough? But why would you want extended deployments for military personnel? Why would you want everyone stuck on the ship? Why wouldn't you want this whole engagement to be shorter, not longer? Again, I can grant the premise that long-term, this engagement with Iran is wise and will be effective pursuant to its goals. That doesn't mean that I dismiss the concerns short-term about $4 gasoline. It doesn't mean that I say that the people on the USS Lincoln need to be there much longer, actually. They not nearly long enough for all those thugs aboard the USS Lincoln. I know I'm not being extremely charitable with this statement that was kind of a one-off to reporters. Let's say that maybe Trump, if he could take it back, he might take that statement back. But it goes to show that, like, just a pure knee-jerk reaction against the media to think that they're always wrong, well, if they ask something based on a premise, the premise must be wrong. Again, I don't know if there's real suffering aboard the USS Lincoln. I don't know how...
They're probably exaggerating a lot of the cases.
But doesn't everyone want every sailor and Marine on that ship home as soon as possible? The correct answer is, it's been a long deployment for them. We thank them for their service to this country and their dedication to the mission. We've determined that they deserve a break. So we're moving that ship out and we're bringing a new one in. God bless America. God bless our troops, and thank you much. Not nearly long enough is a completely bizarre statement to make, and among the bizarre Trump statements of all time. I would put that one. It just like it implies they need punishment. I don't know what that's supposed to mean.
It builds character.
Okay, it's like it's a dad who's making you suffer.
It was just I mean, it's as you put, it's a knee-jerk reaction. He didn't think it through. Despite everything we just said, I really like his work on the border. So he got that going for him.
Yeah, if I could go back to 2024, obviously I'm not even thinking about checking the box for Kamala Harris because there are meaningful things that have been achieved in other ways. But economically, I have to wonder how much different things are based on the fact that inflation remains a persistent problem. Energy costs are not coming down. And the Iran stuff, for whatever benefit we're hoping to get long term, the benefit has not been realized yet.
Well, prior to the Iran intervention, wages were growing significantly faster than inflation. And like, if you were to quote grocery prices relative to median wages, it had retreaded, I don't know, gone back down to basically the same ratio of pre-COVID. Now, it's a tough message to communicate when you're a politician, because when people think of inflation, they want the prices of goods to come down. And on aggregate, that's really not going to happen. You're going to offset it by having wages rise faster than inflation. I mean, obviously, there are certain items here and there that are volatile, and he had success with eggs and that kind of thing. But on aggregate, it's going to be through having wages rise faster than inflation, and we were seeing that. It's just now getting chipped away at by the Iran stuff. So it is there was progress being made there, is my point.
Maybe we'll go back someday.
Yeah.
But speaking of poorly thought out or regrettable statements, for some reason, people continue to look to deranged spinster Chelsea Handler for philosophical wisdom, though she clearly has none. Kara Swisher hosted Chelsea Handler on her podcast. It's a stiff competition between the two. But they were discussing how a lot of men are now leaving their Trump support for many of the reasons we were just discussing. But these men, it's not good enough just to leave Trump in terms of your support. You have to become an active supporter of minority communities because Trump remains dangerous to them. For instance, just look at Todd Blanche, the incoming attorney general. In an amazing display of political ignorance, Chelsea Handler confidently warns soon Todd Blanche will be confirmed as attorney general, and then he will overturn Roe versus Wade.
But there's also really great guys that are standing up for the rights of women, that are standing up for the rights of the LGBT community, that are standing up for people of color, that would seemingly be Trump supporters. There's people like Trey Crowder, John Russell on Instagram, Brian Andrews. And I want to shout these guys out because they are sending such positive messaging and they are talking about this. You know, we're going to get Todd Blanche. He's going to be confirmed, and he's going to overturn Roe v. Wade. We're all sitting around. All these men who have these powerful platforms are sitting around watching this happen to women, to communities that you could instead be supporting. You don't have to turn over a whole new leaf. It's just about being a decent human being. You know?
Congratulations, butthead.
So congratulations to decent human being Chelsea Handler, who has murdered at least 3 of her children by aborting them. Ask Chelsea's kids about how decent of a human being she is. Oh, wait, you can't. She decently exterminated them. But yes, count all the ridiculous errors in just that brief clip, about a minute of conversation. So obviously Roe v. Wade was overturned in June 2022. She's only 4 years late on that one. She somehow survived the post-Roe apocalypse. Todd Blanche is already Attorney General. He was confirmed August 8th. Now, this podcast episode was posted Friday. That's August 14th. I assume it was recorded after that confirmation. Maybe not. Maybe Chelsea gets a pass on that one. But the Attorney General, of course, does not overturn Supreme Court precedent. The Supreme Court itself does that. The Justice Department will argue on behalf of the government before the Supreme Court, but strictly speaking, even that's not the Attorney General's job. The Solicitor General under the Attorney General is the one who's going to go before the Supreme Court and make those arguments, but that person, again, can't decide. He can argue for the government's position, but the decision-making authority on that constitutional Supreme Court precedent is not his. And of course, for the many reasons discussed on this show and on this channel for years, Roe v. Wade was completely bunk constitutional anyway. Yeah, it was made up. It was just a political agenda crammed into the 14th Amendment. If you asked Chelsea Handler to explain how the Constitution supposedly protects a right to an abortion, there is zero chance that she could explain that at all. She just likes the effect. And it is notable that during this conversation, Kara Swisher, the host there, nothing to say on the matter. They just moved along. I went back and listened in context to make sure I didn't miss it. As far as I saw, there's no correction or no update to this claim issued after the fact. And people make mistakes. All right, I've said dumb stuff. You've said dumb stuff. We all do. But not to correct such an egregious error and These are people who are propped up by all sorts of big companies, media companies. These are people who are looked to for supposed political wisdom. These are supposedly thought leaders. They understand almost nothing, and yet they speak so confidently. Beyond the fact that she was so factually wrong, the amazing part of that clip is the way that Chelsea Handler just says it as though she's sure of what she's saying. There's no, is this true? There's no second guessing. There's no critical thinking about whether what she's saying is in fact correct. But, I can't believe that the 50-year-old single lady who killed her kids is, misinformed and crazy. If you can't trust Chelsea Handler for wisdom, who can you trust anymore?
It's always weird that whenever there's like someone who's adamantly pro-abortion, it's like a gay guy, a lesbian, or a woman in her 50s. It's never, who you think the target demo would be.
Or a woman who killed 3 of her kids. She's been very active,
Yeah.
I get why Chelsea Handler cares about abortion.
I get her stake in it. Yeah, it's just weird she missed that whole Supreme Court case getting overturned. Do you think, arguably, the overturning of Roe v. Wade ended up being a net benefit for the left in that they were expected to get crushed in the midterms in 2022. Instead, it was like a red trickle as opposed to a red wave. And it seems like a lot of young women did turn out just to vote because they were pissed off over Roe v. Wade. And there's more abortions per year now than before.
Oh, I believe that.
So maybe that would have happened regardless, but...
Well, the polarization that exists now is extremely strong. We were talking on Wednesday about the new Massachusetts law that has legalized abortion to birth as long as you have a physician's approval. So it's not purely elective based on the woman's whims, but as long as she can find a deranged, crazy doctor to say, yes, I bless this abortion of that baby who's about to pop out of there any minute, you can do that. So what was advertised as the protection, Roe v. Wade referenced by Chelsea Handler, we must protect the supposed constitutional right to a pre-viability abortion, meaning if the baby could survive out of the womb, post-viability, we protect that child, or states have a right to restrict abortion in that context. Because why? That's a real baby. That's a real child. Now, the truth of the matter is it's a real child throughout every stage of pregnancy, but every supposedly moderate view that they were protecting with Roe v. Wade has instead been radicalized to the full extent. So what they call like right-wing extremism on this is actually the normal position from the 90s, the 80s, the 70s. Like, I guess like it's a regrettable decision. We should leave between a woman and her doctor in, say, the first, trimester. That is totally insufficient for these ideologues like Chelsea Handler. It has to be at any time.
And even before Roe v. Wade was overturned, I think most restrictions were at around 20 weeks in this country. In most European countries, it's like 10 to 15 weeks or so. So we already had among the most liberal abortion laws in terms of when you could get one. I think only like Syria and North Korea were more, I hate to use the term generous, but less restrictive than us. So... yeah, it was just, I don't know, it was already as generous as a liberal could possibly want, and even that wasn't enough. I will say, though, the rhetoric you were referencing of safe, legal, and rare from the 90s, I think Democrats just poll tested different things and knew that's what went best. I don't think they actually genuinely believed that. I think they just knew not to be openly ghoulish. And something changed for
Those
some
were
reason.
the days when
Those
they
were the
had,
days, yeah.
They had a little bit of hesitation about their ghoulishness. I remember a time. Speaking of ghoulishness, on Friday, Luigi Mangione, the man who fatally shot United Health CEO Brian Thompson in the back on the Manhattan streets in 2024, pleaded guilty to federal charges. Now, technically, these charges to which he pleaded guilty are 2 stalking charges. So the feds had jurisdiction that way due to the interstate travel that Luigi did for the purpose of committing the crime. For the murder itself, Mangione has a separate second-degree murder charge in New York State. That case is still pending. And that New York murder case, getting that eliminated or getting that reduced looks to be part of the strategy that Luigi is pursuing here. More on that in a moment. So Luigi gave a prepared statement to the court and to the judge on Friday. we don't have a recording of it because there's no cameras in federal courthouses, but he said, quote, "On the morning of December 4th, 2024, I shot Mr. Thompson in Manhattan and he died. When I did so, I understood that my actions would place him in fear of death or serious bodily injury. I knew what I was doing was illegal." And this CNN reporting says Mangione did not express any remorse, nor did he address Thompson's family members who were present in the courtroom. Mangione's federal trial had been scheduled for January. That is now not going to happen, obviously. For the stalking convictions, these federal convictions, he's now pleading guilty to. Federal guidelines suggest 24 to 30 years in prison, though life imprisonment does remain possible. That sentencing is now scheduled for December 18th. So why Luigi would do this isn't just presumably because he thought he couldn't beat the prosecution's case, even though, as you said, Matt, like you got to think the jury in New York City is going to be as friendly to him as any jury anywhere else. So presumably they're not confident in their ability to beat that case, or not confident in their ability to beat the forthcoming murder trial in New York State courts. It's because they think that pleading guilty to these charges is an avenue to defeat or get around that New York State case, which has the more serious charge, the murder charge, as opposed to the interstate stalking charges that he's pleading guilty to. So the Fifth Amendment of the Constitution protects against double jeopardy and extends to the states. The idea that you can't be prosecuted twice for the same crime. But really, this is a matter of New York State's protection against double jeopardy. So New York State has its own state constitutional and statutory protections against double jeopardy that are apparently broader than the federal Constitution's protections. New York says the state can't double prosecute for the same act or criminal transaction, even if the specific charges or offenses differ, as they do in this case. So even though the crime of interstate stalking may be technically different from the crime of murder, actually shooting him in the back, if the way I understand it is correct, and I'm not a New York lawyer, so consult your favorite New York lawyer, but my layman reading of this suggests that because New York state and or constitutional law is going to view everything Luigi did as one continuous sequence of events, you can't just dissect that continuous sequence of events into different things and prosecute him multiple times on that basis. So because he's already been prosecuted effectively for this event federally, if his theory here is successful, he won't be prosecutable in New York because that continuous criminal event has already been prosecuted in federal court. Here's Luigi's lawyers outside the courthouse making that case.
Despite this being a single isolated event, Mr. Mangione has been unfairly treated since the outset in every way and has successfully fought off terrorism charges and the death penalty. Today's guilty plea triggers this statute, and we just filed our motion in state court explaining why the state charges must be dismissed under New York's double jeopardy protections.
Okay. So he was so unfairly treated after shooting that man in cold blood in the back, which he now admits to, by the way. It wasn't just he didn't just admit to stalking Brian Thompson across state lines. I shot Brian Thompson in the back and I knew what I was doing was illegal.
Yeah. Well, a lot of his supporters did that routine where they're like, yeah, he's totally innocent, but also we support him in case he did it.
He's a hero for his actions, but are we confident?
Which he may have not done. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Strategically, if I'm Luigi Mangione's defense, this actually does make sense. And don't get me wrong, I want this guy convicted of murder primarily because he committed murder and has admitted to it. But if you are operating in his interest, this does make sense. Primary blame goes to Luigi for being a cold-blooded murderer. Let's get that out of the way. However, if this legal move is successful and Luigi's New York State case is compromised, reduced, erased, whatever happens, it's possible he's never prosecuted or convicted for, strictly speaking, for the murder that he committed by his own admission. And the lesson to learn here is actually the old 10th Amendment. Police powers belong to the states. Now, by prosecuting this case aggressively themselves. The feds have not only stretched their constitutional authority, but they have done what? They have created a path for Luigi to kind of get away with it, maybe. If the feds had backed off and left this to the state, yes, even the degenerate state of New York, Luigi would not be in position, or at least not in the same position, to potentially get away with murder. So why did the feds go so hard? Well, yes, it was another Pam Bondi special.
Come and get me, Pam Bondi.
I don't know. I don't get why the terrorism charges didn't stick, though. I thought terrorism had to be a killing with a political or religious motive. And
I don't know the technical definition under federal law, but you're right.
Yeah.
A judge tossed that.
And that was, I mean, I know he didn't admit to a specific motive. I don't think so, but it clearly was to strike fear in the healthcare, I don't know, industry and something to that effect.
He at least admitted that he knew that his actions would strike fear in Brian Thompson.
Yeah.
Whether his intent was to strike fear in the broader industry. Yeah. New York State does not have the death penalty, though. The federal justice system does. And Pam Bondi thought that she could put Luigi Mangione to death. And instead, if this works out in Luigi's favor, which granted is a big asterisk, a big qualifier, we don't know that that's going to happen. New York may still pursue this case rightly if they can find a way around the case he's making. Ultimately, though, Pam Bondi could be responsible for helping Luigi get away with the serious criminal matter here of murder. And bottom line, the feds inserting themselves into state police powers is almost always a mistake. For whatever wins you think you're going to get out of it, long term, it's a mistake. Whether they're doing it for abusive, bad reasons like Ruby Ridge, or for supposedly good reasons like trying to put Luigi Mangione to death for his cold-blooded murder, you can count on the feds to screw up or abuse because it's all they know. Leave police power constitutionally to the states. You will be in a better position for it long term in the aggregate, but also in this case, I think it's undeniable based on how this is playing out. If the feds had simply done nothing, if Pam Bondi had tended to the many Epstein files on her desk instead, Luigi Mangione would be in a worse position as a criminal defense matter than he currently is.
Yeah, she really was terrible. So, oh my God. Thank God she's gone.
Well, we'll see how Todd Blanche has some more things coming up. We're going to get into those later in the show, including there's more information on the Comey prosecution, which I think is total bullshit. But we have more information to show that what Comey was saying was total bullshit too. So we'll see what the Justice Department does with that. Mm-hmm. You know, we're right about at the top of the hour. I wanted to talk Jason Arday before the break, the professor at Cambridge, but that's going to take a minute. So why don't we take a super chat break before we get into that? But first, hey, have you considered joining the MC Club? Well, you should. Here's why. Hey, if you enjoy the show, please consider supporting the show by becoming a member of the MC Club. For as little as $1 a month, you will enjoy a series of exclusive perks, including ad-free videos and podcasts, video calls, and a community Discord server with me and other listeners, loot box giveaways with channel merchandise, your name in the credit roll after videos and streams, and much more. But most importantly, you will help keep the Duct Tape production alive and independent from all those sinister forces of control. Join the MC Club at mattchristiansenmedia.com/support. Linked in the description. All right, hopping over to Super Chat. You have Newbie teed up.
Newbie of Death. If you read this,
you are gay, LMAO.
Now, Newbie, I thought of you the other day because of your commitment to the bit. And it's a great bit, and I appreciate you for keeping it alive, even though I had moral hesitation. Because again, that's what was written on the ammunition, the not ammunition that didn't kill Charlie Kirk, depending on who you believe. But if you believe the governor of Utah, Cox is his name, and the investigators into the Charlie Kirk assassination, that's what Tyler Robinson and his friends, or whoever involved, wrote on the ammunition. You are gay, LMAO. And I had to set up a new Wi-Fi network the other day. And normally historically I like to name my Wi-Fi networks viruses and spyware, because who's going to join viruses and spyware? You're going to stay off my network. So I've been doing that since like college. But I needed something new. And so I thought, well, this is, it's in a lot of people live around here. So if people are pulling up their Wi-Fi to try to connect to a network and they're trying to figure out which one to join, they should read,
"You are gay, LMAO."
So I guess I shouldn't say that, because if you're driving around Bozeman, Montana, and you look at your Wi-Fi, your list of networks available, and it says,
"You are gay, LMAO,"
means you're too close to me. You need to maintain your distance, because I don't know who you are. But I figured I could spread the word that way. You ever name your networks funny things?
I had thought of doing meth house or something like drug related as a joke, but then I realized there could be legal consequences for me, so I opted
they'll
against
think that.
I don't want to I don't want to swat myself by accident via inappropriate Wi-Fi name.
They're going to think that you are an actual meth lab.
Exactly. I don't want to risk it,
Oh, I was going to make my network unregistered short-barreled rifles and short-barreled shotguns within.
Be good.
Get the old Ruby Ridge treatment. Although that doesn't matter anymore, apparently. Don't get legal advice from me, but underrated legal news of the week, and especially in the gun world, the constitutional basis for the National Firearms Act and the reason you have to register those things, largely defeated, done. And it's kind of ambiguous about what the enforcement is or will be, but I'm just excited because, I haven't, as always, I comply fully with all state and federal firearms laws, even though we don't really have firearms laws in the state of Montana because we're a free state that respects and enjoys the Constitution. But if we're not there yet, the days of going into a gun shop and getting a suppressor same day are in some places upon us already, but in the rest of the country, maybe very close to upon us. As far as I understand, you actually can't do that in Montana right now for legal reasons that are a little bit unclear to me. But in some places you can. You still have to do the background check, like a gun transfer type thing, Form 4473. But you can still go in and get a suppressor the same day without registering the suppressor with the ATF.
I do get all my legal advice from this show.
Yeah.
So this is useful.
That's how you actually get rated if you want to realize the fear. AP,
Next, you.
Living for God 07. With God's provision and my parents' help, I am blessed to have traded in my 2013 WRX. Congratulations on your lesbianism, for a new 2026 WRX.
Still a dyke.
So, something lesbian joke or whatever. Keep up the great work, Mats.
Nice.
Well, first of all,
congratulations, butthead.
The new platform gets a lot of hate. However, personally, I have really warmed up to the aesthetic, and it's a great driving car. I've been driving on the new platform for a year and change, and it's a very refined, respectable vehicle. But again, for all the hate that the car gets, the list of, and I trust that like a true a person who truly enjoys the driving experience, AP, you got the manual transmission. You did not succumb to the convenience of the automatic, the CVT. If you did that, the list of turbocharged all-wheel drive manual transmission cars is very short. Your selection is very limited. So enjoy that new drive, man. That's very cool. And thank you for helping me convince people that it's not strictly lesbians and absolute faggots who drive Subarus. I hope you're in.
Keyword absolute faggot.
Only partial.
Well, yeah. Pothead Wino.
Yeah.
Congrats to Matt Palumbo for perfecting his look. That of a former ice cream truck driver who can't live near schools. Okay, first of all, Pothead Wino, it's a 50-meter radius, which it's like barely down the street I can live near a school, so it's not like I can't live near them at all. Also, by the way, trying to sell ice cream at a school doesn't work because they don't want the kids out of class, so it doesn't really inhibit my ice cream.
He does have
truck.
Experience in this matter,
I'm so experienced in this manner.
Thank you, Pothead Wino. Orthodox Christian Andrew. Matt and Matt, this is what I was talking about. What are your post-NFA rifle setups going to be? Now, I don't like to talk about what my specific defense setups are because I don't necessarily want people to know. But as far as what I would like to buy for fun, again, it's not even the NFA that's really limiting to me. It's the fact that, I'm a dad with 3 kids and God willing more. It's very hard for me to justify fun gun expenses. So really, from a recreational perspective, I've been out of the gun market since like 2020. But if I have some luck in the future, if maybe gas does come down and I don't have to worry about that little increase as much as anymore, I would love to have a short-barreled P90 or PS90, the civilian model. I got some stuff in the safe that needs proper stock setups, which of course I would never do until I have the full clearance of the ATF. I've got a CZ Scorpion that needs to be stocked. I've got one of those PTR MP5 clones that I really love that needs a proper stock setup. Matt doesn't live in a free state, so I don't know what you can do in New Jersey. Nothing.
In Jersey, I think you have to get 2 references. They have to be interviewed at the police station, and then I think they wait a few months and then re-interview them to make sure you hadn't gone insane.
Is that for any gun or specific types? Just anything?
It's such a pain in the ass. I've just been putting it off forever. And I might be wrong about the whole waiting thing, but I know that you need to get references. I had a friend who had references, but on the application it asks if you've ever been told you have any sort of mental health condition, and he put down that a psychiatrist told him he had anxiety, and that disqualified him from owning a gun.
Yeah,
and it's who doesn't have, like, everyone has anxiety, so it like that's the problem with the whole mental health restrictions, is that if they're defined in a loose enough way, you can prohibit 100% of people from owning a gun based on
and this is clearly the blueprint. As a technical matter, a lot of that stuff probably is legal in New Jersey. If you want to go get a basic Glock for self and home defense, I'm sure it is more than possible to do that technically.
You can
However,
get one a month, I think. One gun per month.
God,
also,
dude.
we have.
And it's just how many hurdles can they throw in front of you before you go, you know what? Just give me I don't know, I'm going to go get some barbed wire and a baseball bat. Yeah. If that's still legal, I'm going to do the old Negan home defense because it's just easier. I got stuff to do.
We're at less than 10% gun ownership, and that's including cops and ex-military. So... Wow. It's very rare to see a gun. Yeah, it's. I mean, a lot of people I know have them, but it's not common at all here. Obviously, it's 90+% don't have one.
Thank you, Orthodox Christian Andrew, and all the best with your post-NFA setup and setups as well. Let's see. You're up next with Yakko, right?
Yakko. Oh yes, here we go. The conditions on USS Lincoln are not new. I served on a carrier in the 90s, thank you for your service, sir, and I recall seeing boxes of meat that were labeled, quote-unquote, rejected by the Department of Corrections. Fuck. It's not MRE bad, but it's still terrible.
Yeah. Well, yes,
I would imagine this is... I imagine this is a combination of... The ship, unfortunately, has been out there for quite a while, but... A, you know what you're getting yourself signed up for, and B, I imagine they are exaggerating certain complaints and all of that as well. But
well, thank you for your service to the country. But I've seen a lot of people. I saw a post from the Democrat Party the other day. This is what Trump is feeding our troops in the Middle East, and it looks like a bad school lunch. You got your plastic tray with like that kind of suspect meat and like gross, mushy steamed carrots or something. Yeah, and half the comments are like, this looks delectable compared to what I ate during my time. And when has the military been known for fine cuisine?
Well, wasn't there a scandal like within the past year where Hegseth was feeding them lobster and stuff?
Yes, that was also a problem.
And then the scandal was, they're spending all this money. And listen, if we're spending $1,000 per toilet seat in the military, I'm actually okay with us splurging on food a little bit. But no, it's politics is a heads I win, tails you lose game. It's pretty much everything.
Spirit of Lexington. My read on Iran. Trump was the no new wars president, so he's trying to preserve that by having no boots on the ground and then trying to make a deal. He can't deviate from this to preserve his plan. I think that's probably a correct diagnosis.
Bingo.
Trump, I agree that philosophically, he wanted to be the no new wars guy. For whatever reason, whether bad people influenced him or he had an error in judgment, he clearly is not at this point. But if you can find a way to technically be the no new wars guy, because we didn't send in infantry or something, maybe you can save face later. The problem is we're at such a stage of involvement in this that there is no saving face. Okay, you can't just. What are we going to do? We're just going to have our aircraft carriers and the rest of our naval fleet or other pieces of our naval fleet floating around the Middle East to threaten them, but not actually destroy them, because if we were to go all in, they might kill some of our people or sink one of our boats, and then it looks really bad. So you're at the point where you either have to actually destroy them and do the war that you said you wouldn't, or turn that ship around and say, whoops, what a mistake. But he'll never do that. And even though it would be viewed as an American defeat, and in ways it would be a political defeat. I don't think Iran can beat us militarily, but we're not willing to go all in on it.
Yeah, I mean, we killed all their top leadership and branded the rest faggots, so we definitely didn't lose, but we didn't materially gain anything. And
actually, we've won the war like 50 times by now. It's like 50-0.
Yeah. I mean, I think technically speaking, and obviously the word technically is doing a lot of heavy lifting, I believe it's still not a war in that we haven't needed, he hasn't had to get congressional approval. So
that's because they did the bullshit of like, well, there's a peace deal, so it doesn't count and the clock resets, even though Congress did vote to tell him to stop.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I have no love for all. I do not buy into any sort of principle motivating predominantly Democrats who did that. But I also recognize that you can't. A president does not have the statutory or constitutional authority to have an extended war in that way and then have a temporary period of peace and say, now the clock resets. That is not what the law intended. That's not what the Constitution. Yeah, it's whatever.
Smart. I feel like on this show we had joked that was what he was going to do to get around that, and then he actually did it the next week. So
creative thinking.
That's why you got to come to this show for all these prophetic takes.
Thank you, Spirit of Lexington.
Did you read the second part of his thing? Where
no, there's another one right after that.
So
actually, there's a couple of them. Yeah.
This is obviously in continuation to what Matt just read. This is why he being Trump, keeps getting suckered into new negotiations that will obviously lead nowhere.
Yeah, well, whether he's getting suckered or whether he is trying to save face, as you were saying, some sort of justifiable commitment to what he had previously said. Yeah, you really don't have great answers here. It's either actual war or it's leaving. This sitting around and like tough talk that's never actually realized it's not going to work. Spirit of Lexington adds, look how happy Handler is with no kids. So successful, so fulfilled. Yeah.
Whenever childless people brag about like how free their day is, they fill it with the dumbest shit you can imagine. Like the Seth Rogen version, it's like, yeah, I can smoke weed and like watch TV. It's like, wow, it's great.
If you remember the video, she literally said she fills her days with sleeping in and her vibrator.
That's disgusting.
It's so fulfilling.
Well, in way, something's getting fulfilled, right?
Yes, I guess so.
VV,
aka find any doctor that's a leftist and you get an automatic blessing. They put in parentheses regarding the abortion pill. It's really a religious movement. Yeah, that's kinda the thing. Everyone is going to be able to find it. Like where I live in an area where I guess this is somehow related, where dogs aren't allowed in my development, but you just need a doctor saying it's an emotional support dog. And what do you know? Every single person in my neighborhood has some sort of emotional issue that lets them have a dog.
That's what we were talking about on Wednesday with the Massachusetts story too. When you say that as long as a doctor has given his blessing, it is legally fine, and I know that it's not the state's job to define what is morally fine, but that sort of implicitly follows. What you're saying is there is a class of people who exist above the law and morality itself, indeed define it themselves. And that's not true, obviously, because we as people don't do that. That moral truth comes from God himself, but isn't that kind of the point that the science, the doctors, even though they're not in universal agreement, so some of them must be correct, right? They can't all be correct. We have said that status, that professional status, makes you at some level a human being above morality itself, which is what? That's God. When you are creating moral rules yourself, you are acting as God.
Yeah. No, you just give a doctor the ability to operate in this niche of being a rubber stamp by whatever you've given them the authority to do. I mean, before marijuana was legal in New Jersey, there were doctors whose whole business was you go to them and say you stubbed your toe a year ago, and they go, oh, okay, I guess you need pot, and they'll sign you off. And,
yeah,
and you pay
too.
like that was literally the threshold of what you needed to prove. So that's what it's like.
Ninja Kitty, the
Kaniga,
ranting on his phone and then knocked the evil white woman out for greeting him. Oh, this guy, what was his name? D-something? What was the guy's name last week? Was it D-Quan?
Something.
Can't remember.
Yeah, he had a hyphen.
That guy on his phone threatening people, knocking women out, is why I support capital punishment. Yeah, he deserves it for that. Hard to argue.
Yeah.
That he's had many chances. If not capital punishment, if we believe that he is legitimately mentally ill, which perhaps he is, that itself compels his permanent confinement, though. He is...
That's an aggravating factor to me.
Aggravating.
Well, because... That's an aggravating, not aggravating.
Oh, sorry. I misheard.
In our legal system, if you're effed up in the head, it's a mitigating factor. They go, oh, you can't be trusted to not assault people? Okay, I guess you go out in the real world now for some reason.
Yeah.
In a sane world, it would go, oh, you biologically can't control yourself? I think you should get more jail time. And listen, it sucks you were born with that brain or whatever, but it literally is our problem now. So...
Thank you, Ninja. Esoterica's up next.
Esoterica Unbound. We've been told the WNBA management is trying to determine what the W stands for. Here it comes. Given the behavior of the players, the more relevant question is what the N stands for.
It's not against the law, ho. Fuck you.
All right.
Well done.
Correct. Thank you, Esoterica.
Good stuff.
Let's see. SK, I'm going to try make a guess on this. SK Wizgar? Squizgar? 23-2022? Or 23-22, yeah. Sorry for butchering your name, man. Watch Fudbuster's video on short-barreled shotgun, short-barreled rifle, suppressor ruling, what we were talking about earlier with the NFA. It isn't as clear-cut as people suggest. Now, I will tell you that I am totally confused because I have been researching this for my own understanding because... Like I said, there's a lot of stuff I would like to do without the federal government's blessing, but I don't want to put my family at risk of getting Waco'd, so I have to be wise about this sort of thing. And the problem, as far as I understand, is that we have not, even though the DOJ didn't appeal, so what the court said that the NFA is unconstitutional, at least for the parties who brought the lawsuit, because of the tax basis on which the tax stamp existed previously but doesn't exist anymore from the big beautiful bill last year when they dropped the fee from $200 to nothing. The problem is that even though the DOJ is not appealing, they're not pursuing the case. As far as I've seen, the DOJ and or the ATF, they've not issued guidance or a statement on what is actually okay. So even though my understanding might be, or even the groups who brought the lawsuit, their understanding might be, you're safe from ATF raid. On paper, you might be. But it is a question of whether you want to risk them kicking down your door anyway. Now, I fully support what my friend Justin at Phoenix Ammo was saying all week. At some point, there's just a critical mass of unenforceability. So if you have... Hypothetically, in Minecraft, I would never advocate illegal activity, but if you don't have a green light from DOJ and ATF right now, you have a yellowish green light. The light is changing color. If there are simply too many of these unregistered firearm configurations out there for ATF to enforce, and indeed they have a hesitation to enforce it because they didn't appeal the ruling, at some point it just becomes an unenforceable matter and it goes away. So, while I am unable to advocate illegal activity for liability purposes on this show, I'm just encouraging bravery and courageousness. And if the feds ever get anywhere where they see a Wi-Fi network that says,
"You are gay, LMAO,"
please keep driving. All right, there are no unregistered firearm configurations of any type anywhere near that. Please keep going wherever you're going. Anyway. I take your point. Seriously speaking, as the chatter is saying, It is unclear. So you're going to have to read what you can and make the decision of risk assessment for yourself. The lines are totally, it varies by state. It varies by whether you're a member of the groups that brought the lawsuit. Who is theoretically eligible for the door kicking and who is not is entirely unclear. So we'll see if ATF actually does any door kicking or not.
Producer Tim. The SCOTUS ruling, Gamble versus the United States, stated that it's not the same offense for double jeopardy purposes if they are, quote, prosecuted by different sovereigns, end quote. In other words, different sovereigns, federal versus state, make them technically different charges.
Yeah, the problem is, though, this is a New York state statutory and constitutional protection relevant to the state prosecution.
Yeah.
So it would be relevant in a federal prosecution, that sort of protection, but how the state limits itself may tie their own hands here. And the Supreme Court has no jurisdiction over how the state defines its own double jeopardy rules of state prosecutions. Indeed, per the 10th Amendment, that is their state police power in terms of how they want to handle that. So the Supreme Court can't compel New York to prosecute a crime. If New York prosecutors dismiss the charges tomorrow because they like Luigi, he's very cool, what a hero, that would be a morally unjust outcome. But the Supreme Court does not have the authority to compel prosecutors in the state of New York to prosecute Luigi. The solution would be a political matter for the state of New York to handle itself. So, yeah, I mean, if they've tied their own hands with a double jeopardy restriction here, that's what's it's gonna work to Luigi's benefit.
Very good.
Mole Daddy, let's get some ground penetrating radar over at Palumbo's, gang. What was this a reference to?
And then what?
I can't remember. Did you bury something? What was this about?
Was it my gun talk? My Wi-Fi talk? What was?
I don't remember.
I don't know.
Well, I will give it an honorary rim shot anyway, because I'm sure it deserved it.
I'm in danger.
Yeah, you're like Ralph Wiggum in the Simpsons meme. I'm in danger. Okay, thank you guys for your chats.
I'll have to just circle back with you.
We will come back to your chats at the end of the show, but for now we got to get back into the news, and we have unfortunate news regarding a matter we discussed during the Hoax Hate segment last week. So this is the fate of Cambridge professor Jason Arday, the youngest black person ever to become a Cambridge professor. And I've called him a fake professor in the title of the show because everything about his career and his professorship was fake. It was made up nonsense, just like Kim Jong-il getting 12 holes in one or 11 or whatever it was
It's
the
more
first time.
likely than anything this guy has said.
Yeah, the first time he ever golfed. Jason Arday, he ran 30 marathons in 35 days. He was also autistic, or is autistic, and was previously nonverbal. But he became a professor anyway. He also completed the Kessel Run in under 12 parsecs, I read.
And he was on 7-Up before he was born.
Yeah. Also a plagiarizer, most consequentially, or at least an accused one. Major portions of his PhD dissertation appear to be stolen, and that was uncovered recently. Cambridge tried to laugh it off, but when the evidence became too strong, they announced an investigation within the last week or two, and Jason Arday immediately resigned as a Cambridge professor. That was August 5th. All of that happened. Well, on Friday, it announced that he's dead. It was announced that he's dead. Though, as we're saying at the top of the show, if you follow his track record, maybe he's just fine. Maybe this is another hoax in his interest. The problem with that theory, all jokes aside, is it's not Jason Arday claiming he's dead. It's not even his family claiming he's dead. There was some sort of call to emergency services. He was living in London about his residence. Police showed up. They found him dead. Emergency responders declared him dead at his home. So this is not like some claim that is unverified or something like that. Police say the death is being treated as unexpected but not suspicious, which would strongly imply suicide, but it could be intentional, could be accidental if he was taking drugs to cope or something. It might be a substance issue, some kind of overdose. We don't know yet. One of Arday's last conversations was reportedly with a friend just hours before his death. That friend is named Simon Baron Cohen, not Sasha, but Simon. This was not Borat who was talking to him. But this guy directs the Autism Research Center at Cambridge, so a colleague of his. During the call, this guy, Simon Baron Cohen, says Arday said he was afraid to leave his house because media were bombarding him and painting him as a fraud. Not the, of course, it's not that he is a fraud. It's that he was painted as a fraud. He was just depicted as one. That's all. This friend says Arday's, his last voice note was that he couldn't go on. Now that's a weird, I've never heard someone's conversation described that way. His last voice note was that he couldn't go on.
Oh, it's what minorities do instead of sending text messages. They record voice notes, and then you press play.
That's what it means. I thought this was like he was inferring from the tone of his voice that he couldn't go on. You're saying it was one of those mini voicemails that they leave you.
Where you get and you go, oh, fuck, I get it for 2 minutes to listen to this thing now. It's really, I hate them so much.
Recorded in a public setting, irritating.
You always hear the background. Yeah. It's never a white guy setting them either. But
so effectively, he took the walkie-talkie and said, "Mr. Baron Cohen, I can't go on anymore. Over." That's what happened.
Pretty much.
Okay. So that would imply suicide as well. But of course, the real problem is not the fraudulent life that Jason Arday lived, and apparently his decision making in his last hours. The real problem is the scrutiny. Indeed, the racism. Not the guy who pulled the fraud on the public. And of course, supposedly this supposedly prestigious institution, everyone's racist mostly, and that's the problem. On BBC Newsnight, a news broadcast over in the UK, says Black Studies professor Kehinde Andrews, this should be a wake-up call to just how bad black academics actually have it in academia.
False. Well, the thing is, if I was him, that's the angle I would go with. I would just double down on this is happening because I'm black, and everyone that's like an academic has to go along with it anyway. So he could have fell up within a year or probably less. If
they never questioned him before. Why would they question him now?
Yeah.
But of course, this is a wake up call to the exact opposite problem, just how easy black academics have it. You can make up lies, you can falsify your entire career, never get challenged, and indeed get a job at not just any college, one of the most prestigious universities and oldest universities in the world. Is it the oldest? I mean, I don't know. Is there any place older than Cambridge?
Oxford was from like the 1000s AD, I think, or the 1200. I mean, it's more than is it more than 1,000?
Surely there must be.
It's certainly up there.
Surely there must be elite institutions older in all the great many advanced societies of Africa, right? There must be like Zimbabwe, Kenya.
Let's see.
Look that
Oxford is the oldest in the UK. Teaching started there at 1096.
Okay, so Oxford is older. All right.
And he was at Cambridge, this fella. Cambridge was 1209.
Okay.
So...
Well, left-wing members of the UK government are also blaming racism. Labour MP Nadia Whitcomb says Arday was, quote, hounded by the British press in a way that went far beyond scrutiny, was very disproportionate, and simply would not have happened to a white middle-class person in the same position. But how many white middle-class people are, in fact, in the same position?
They wouldn't
Cambridge
get hired.
Professors through lying?
Yeah, they wouldn't get hired in the first... Like, if a white guy had this background, it would have been fact-checked.
Correct, yeah.
Like, there was a video of, like, some higher-up I saw at Cambridge interacting with him, and, like... Just like the way she was holding his hands in hers, it was clear she viewed him, like, as a pet. It's just that's how they view these people. It's fucking weird, man.
The National Education Union says Arday was the target of a public and brutal takedown that unleashed a tirade of racism. So again, it's like the random guy tweeting, "You're an N." That is the big issue here, and the tirade of racism. Okay, the effect is chilling. It tells black people and others from underrepresented backgrounds that entering prominent public positions will make you a target. No, actually, lying and committing fraud will make you a target. So just don't do that. You'll probably be fine. Then champion race huckster Ibram X. Kendi.
Oh God.
says Jason Arday was lynched by the media. No, he actually lynched himself based on the lies that he told himself and told others. London Mayor Sadiq Khan even got in on the action.
Sadiq Khan is just a gay, muzzy terrorist.
He said,
fact,
quote, Jason Arday was the victim of a pernicious public shaming that other people in his position simply would not have faced. So again, Arday defrauds the public, and then he's actually the victim because the public noticed on apparently too harsh of terms. So what is the actual lesson here? The lesson is that lives built on lies do not last long. And you may think you may get ahead by tricking people. And in the moment, like Jason Arday, maybe you do. Maybe you actually get a little bit of personal advancement. Maybe you even get a fancy job at a fancy place like Cambridge. But long term, it will not work out. Your house of lies will come crashing down like this guy's did. Justice will come for you. You don't betray the truth and get away with it forever. You will have to acknowledge that truth, as Jason Arday was doing. But as far as I understand, Jason Arday never did. He never actually admitted to this plagiarism and the rest of his lies. He never apologized. He never faced that accountability, though the need for it was quite obvious. He committed completely to these lies. And what happened? He died because of it. And he also left a wife and kid, or a couple kids behind, which is completely cowardly behavior. And I know a lot of times people don't like to hear that with regard to suicide. Believe me, I've experienced suicide very close to myself as well. It's not comforting to think that it's a bad act, an immoral act to commit. But this is. I mean, it's not just the easy way out for him. He left children fatherless. He left a wife to be a widow because he could not confront and face the life of lies that he built. But what's the other takeaway for the rest of us? Maybe you don't create a fabricated resume. Maybe you are honest about how many holes in one you have actually golfed in your lifetime. You actually don't save lives or benefit people or contribute to prosperity by enabling lies either. I am not saying that everybody at Cambridge who believed this guy automatically, or everybody in media who believed him uncritically, is responsible for his death. But I am saying that when you enable lies, when you don't think critically about untruths, when you allow them to pass, you are passively at least participating in the construction of that house of lies that will come crashing down one day. And there are fatal consequences when houses of lies come crashing down. So it's always uncomfortable to say to someone who you believe to be lying, or even just like, maybe they're not intentionally lying, but they're disconnected from the truth in a way that they can't see clearly. By just allowing that to pass, you're not serving them. It's the comfortable thing to do, so you think it's the nice thing to do. But the moral thing to do is to defend that truth. It is actually to scrutinize the claims of a person like this. And if, in fact, Jason Arday had been denied a job because people properly scrutinized his resume and realized it was all fake, or indeed looked at his PhD dissertation and realized it was fake, let's say he got disqualified from that PhD program.
I think there was a typo in his PhD thesis's title. Wasn't there?
I don't know. I didn't see that. But it would have been a setback for him, and it would have been embarrassing. Is he dead, though? I doubt it. I'm not saying he would have shaped up and become like a champion of academia and truth and all this. But if someone had properly challenged him on these untruths at a lower point, like an easier point, I don't think it's fatal for him. I don't think his death happens in the way that it did. But, you know, the only person to blame here is him. He's the one who lied. He's the one who couldn't face the truth. And it appears that he's the one who took his own life. And you know, if that's not what happened, we'll correct the record when the information comes out. Everybody else, like, okay, you were mean, but a little bit of tough love actually would have saved his life, I bet.
Although to his defense, the whole field of sociology is made up bullshit. So nothing he did was inconsistent with being a sociologist.
We were talking about that on Wednesday because there were only, I'm not going to get back into my sociology story. Or did we talk about that on Sunday? Was that the dude?
I think it was Sunday. I think it was us, yeah.
Yeah. So it was you and me. So I don't need to go back down that rabbit hole again. But anyway, do not enable even small lies. Do not participate in them. They will stack up and they will catch up with you or the people you're enabling. And that is the Jason Arday story. Unfortunately, let's get into the I would call it a stunt, and it kind of is, but it also does illustrate an important truth. So it's to call it a stunt is a little bit unfair. James O'Keefe and Cam Higby are potentially in trouble in Minnesota for highlighting a feature of Minnesota election law and its absurdities. Now, in Minnesota, to their point, I actually was unaware. This not only that this was a feature of Minnesota election law, but that this was a feature of election law at all. Have you ever heard of this vouching before?
No, it's just insane.
Okay, so a person can do in Minnesota, and I presume other states, but I don't know. A person can do same-day voter registration, as in you register to vote on election day without proving they actually live there. I've seen a little bit of conflicting information. Some people say no ID necessary. What I've read is you do have to provide ID, but if you can't prove residence, then you can have someone else vouch for you. As in, any person can show up and say, yes, I vouch that he lives here in this precinct, and that person can actually vouch for up to 8 people. So in practice, what that means is you could have a guy, and James O'Keefe is being that guy in this situation. One guy brings 8 people from, say, his apartment building. None of them are actually registered to vote. They come to vote on election day. Even if none of them can prove that they live in that spot, they can still vote so long as that guy vouches for them and signs some papers saying that they live there. So that if they lie, there is, in theory, a legal penalty for them. How often is that prosecuted? If there is a lie, I don't know. But to illustrate all of that absurdity, James O'Keefe dresses up like a Muslim guy, and Cam Higby puts on a burqa to become his transgender wife. And they visited a few Minnesota polling locations in Minneapolis. Tuesday was the Minnesota primary, the primary elections. And they were just trying to verify that they could, in fact, vote through this system.
Question about the it's about the vouching program. Yeah. If I vouch for them, I'm registered, but they are not registered. That's okay. That's fine. Can I bring 5 more from up to 8 people? So I go get the rest of them and come and they can vote today. Yeah. I can just vouch for them that they are registered. Yes.
Yeah. So
okay. That's a good thing. We go back and we get Krishna and Ernesto and Mohammed. They're with me.
They're not voting?
They with the vouching.
Yeah. Vouching for.
I vouch for them.
Oh, great.
Is that okay?
Yes.
How does that work?
Well, if you're all in the same precinct,
yes,
and you are already registered, which it looks like you are, then you can vouch for them as ID for them.
Oh, good. If they do not have their ID, is that okay? I vouch for them. How many people may I vouch for?
8.
8?
I thought it was 6. 8.
I can vouch for 8 people. We can go pick up Mohammed and Ranuzu in the car outside. Good. The question about the vouching, again, I can vouch for 8 people.
Yeah. In your precinct.
In my, they live, yes, in my precinct. That is so wonderful.
Yes.
That is such a good American tradition. She says to me, I say, they do not need ID. She says, you are the ID. He is the ID. I am the ID. And no ID needed. I just vouch for them.
Well, you're the ID.
I am the ID. It's good.
I know the audience is probably thinking this is completely ridiculous, but what we found is that by dressing like this, it's actually less ridiculous to a lot of the local Minneapolis people here who are less suspicious of me dressed like this versus going in normal James O'Keefe clothes.
Now, point of fact, James O'Keefe and Cam Higby did not actually vote. They did not submit any fraudulent documents. They just asked these questions. But I will also point out, it's not just Sadiq Khan. By virtue of his transgender burqa wife, James O'Keefe is also
just a gay Muzzy terrorist.
Are you shocked by this, or is this par for the course in Minneapolis?
I mean, if you want more Democrats to vote, that is what you'd. I mean, it's obvious why they allow this and the kind of people that are going to benefit from it. I mean, what shocked me, and I guess I'm using the term shocked a bit loosely, was unless I misheard or she misspoke, she said you don't even have to be registered to vote. If someone vouches for you, you can
You
then
register on the spot on election day is how it
All
works.
right.
Yeah.
But that's the same. That's still de facto not
yes.
Yeah, being registered.
Yeah. So if you show up unregistered and unable to prove that you live in that precinct, you can still vote if Muhammad or Ranuzu or Vishnu or Ernesto vouches for you.
I love that he picked names from different races. Like,
Ernesto.
Hispanic, Vishnu's Indian. We had Muhammad.
He forgot Tyrone.
He forgot Tyrone. Yeah. Although what's cool with O'Keefe lately is he is proving that the Clark Kent disguise would have worked. It was not unrealistic.
Yeah.
Because he puts no effort in and no one
And
can
I do
tell.
believe him that it's a counterfactual. I actually have not seen the totality. Well, that video from which I pulled the clip is about 11 minutes long. James O'Keefe posted it. I did watch that through. I haven't seen everything they recorded, but the counterfactual he raises of I was viewed less suspiciously because of the Muslim costume. I do buy that. I think that's true. Even though O'Keefe is pretty recognizable to many people, I would like to see the same experiment with just, John, the white guy in a polo and khakis, showing up and doing the same thing. How would he be? Would it be the same or would he be treated differently?
Yeah. Did you cover on the show the New Jersey voter fraud? Where
yes, but it was a Wednesday, so you weren't here for that.
So I had to get my license renewed last week. Obviously, I checked the box that I am a citizen, but when you go to give them the paperwork, take the photo, there's just these little prompts you have to go through on the screen in front of you. And one is asking if you want to register to vote. And I asked the woman, I'm like, oh, does this get asked to every person? And, I didn't say regardless of citizenship, I didn't want to make it obvious what I was prying at, but I'm like, oh, does everyone get this? And she's like, oh yeah, everyone will see that screen. If you're registered, just, click no. But I was trying to, unless she misunderstood what I was asking, I was trying to pry, if I am here illegally, would I still be seeing this option to register to vote? And it seemed like the answer was yes. So, the system is quite vulnerable.
New Jersey's case, what was crazy about New Jersey, I'm sure you saw. My understanding of it when I read it was when you get your driver's license, there's an automatic voter registration, but there's also a question of, are you a citizen of the United States? So the people were checking no, but still getting registered to vote. They were being honest.
Yeah. So the no box, it's on a physical paper that you hand to the woman. The registration is on a computer screen in front of you. But the thing about the New Jersey fraud is they were claiming it was illegals who did not themselves try to register that then got added later. From what I see, there is no safeguard that even if you check the box that you're here illegally, it will still ask you if you want to register to vote. So,
and we just don't know. I mean, the governor had said, well, the voting wasn't in numbers sufficient to swing any election. Okay, cool.
You don't know that.
But any number, especially in local elections, if the number is 1 or greater, it is theoretically capable of swinging an election.
I'm sorry if I'm repeating myself, but in my town, I think 20,000 people turned out to the last mayoral election. The Democrat won by 77 votes.
Yeah, there you go.
He's an Indian guy. It's been getting contested since Election Day because there was 200 or 300 votes for him with mismatched signatures, all of which are from Asian households or Indian households, and it's a interesting coincidence. So it'll be interesting to see if that election actually gets overturned. But point being, in those really close elections, some malarkey, as Joe Biden would say, can definitely swing it, and I think that's what happened in my town.
Well, the outrage in Minnesota, at least from the politicians in power, is, of course, about O'Keefe and Cam Higby and their antics and not about what's going on under Minnesota law. And I get it. The Secretary of State, his job is to operate within the law. He's not a legislator. So I understand why he might say some of the things that he's saying, but it's not just explaining the law as it exists, which I get. He's actually implicitly threatening O'Keefe and Higby with legal action. So the Secretary of State is Steve Simon. He released a statement saying, in part, during Minnesota's primary on August 11th, members of a widely discredited Florida-based political group visited several polling places in Minneapolis impersonating Minnesota voters. Excuse me. Their apparent goal was to cast doubt on one or more Minnesota election laws. Sorry, it's that time of night. Their apparent goal was to cast doubt on one or more Minnesota election laws that have been in force for nearly 50 years or over 50 years. Instead, they revealed their ignorance of how those laws actually work while putting themselves in legal jeopardy. Now, what the ignorance is unexplained. The vouching system works, as far as I gather, the way that they described. They did not, in fact, submit any fraudulent documentation or vote fraudulently. So the legal jeopardy he's describing, I'm also unclear on. They did not commit any type of fraud. What would you go after them for? What would you charge them with? He's not a prosecutor, but he probably works closely with one. I don't know what the case would be, because all they did was walk into a public place and ask questions. Unless they recorded people through illegal means. I don't know what Minnesota law has to say about that. But James O'Keefe has been doing this forever. There's no way he didn't look at what he's legally and allowed to do and not allowed to do.
But if he didn't actually vote, then what's the...
Yeah, I don't know. That's why I don't know what the legal jeopardy this guy's talking about is.
Yeah, very stupid.
Anyway, I'm sure Renuzu and Ernesto can explain all of this.
Vishnu, yeah.
If you haven't had enough Minnesota cringe from just that, well, Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey also has a submission.
This is horrible.
In Minneapolis, you have something called the Black Entrepreneur State Fair. And I went to learn more about the Black Entrepreneur State Fair, and the website is blackstatefair.org. What exactly is this? But in demonstration of proper Black entrepreneurship, the website is offline.
You saw they, like a year or two ago, they opened a new Black Wall Street. It was like a mall specifically for Black businesses, and last time I checked, it's going out of business. So another fail.
I thought it was to make up for like the Tulsa thing or something.
Well, it's named after that. They're going to, redo it. The Black Wall Street didn't actually exist. It was just a functioning Main Street, but it wasn't like a financial capital.
Hey man, that was high achieving. That was high tech.
The bar is low, man. But it's literally every Main Street in this country is the equivalent of Black Wall Street, if not better. But
so this Black State Fair looks very crappy, very poorly attended, but Jacob Frey was trying to liven up the place with his dance moves to this funky beat.
You suck, you jackass.
It goes on a lot
There was
longer.
more.
I'm not going to. I'm going to be merciful and cut the clip. Now, what's more embarrassing, those dance moves or the Somali bean-eating white power endorsement?
I think the dance moves.
Okay.
At least he was actually... Well, I guess he was actually enjoying himself though with the dance. This is faking, so I guess this is more cringe.
The Black State Fair with the website that's offline, that's 7 years in the making. This is the 7th annual. So presumably this display and this attendance, that's progress in the production. So, I don't know what it was like 7 years ago, but this is supposedly the height of their achievement. Anyway, okay, I want to talk about the Justice Department and Judge Jeanine.
Yes.
Because Judge Jeanine, to recap the situation, she originally said, I have evidence to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that cyclist guy, David Hearn, vandalized the reflecting pool, and then she dropped the charges, saying, actually, it was a faulty installation. I investigated it, and the company that did the installation on the reflecting pool did a crappy job, so David Hearn is off the hook. And then Trump got really pissed off at Judge Jeanine, and now it looks like Judge Jeanine, maybe, we don't really know what she's doing here. She's trying to revive the case. So,
what the is this?
Please explain.
So I'm not entirely convinced that this is her trying to revive the case.
Okay.
Now, so just to kind of recap, I think we talked about this last week. There was an Olympian charged for vandalizing the reflecting pool. It was hundreds of feet of damage. And
first of all, he was a cyclist. Let's not praise him. He was scum of the earth.
We had a subhuman accused of trying to vandalize the White House pool.
Yeah.
It was hundreds of feet of damage, which, obviously you would expect there to be a lot of footage of someone in the middle of the crime if he was in fact the guy behind it. And we were told there was a lot of evidence, but Jeanine Pirro ended up dropping the charges. And Trump has been sticking to the original story of, no, it was vandalized. There is evidence. He's not happy with Pirro and is trying to get her to reopen the case. And this whole special grand jury thing comes one day after he last publicly commented. So the timing does make it look like that. But before going into that, with Carolyn leaving the White House, I think it's of the 8 women Trump has appointed to cabinet or top level positions, 5 are now gone. So if we lose Pirro, that's 6. So we are seeing a female purge from the upper echelons of the Trump administration. Good. So progress is being made in one area. But prior to
historic
this
firing of women, I'm back on board. All right,
we're back on. But prior to this incident, Pirro's only had about a 50% conviction rate in cases that went to trial. Just to refresh your memory on some of these, there was that guy who threw a Subway sandwich at our federal agent.
That was okay.
That was a legit case.
He deserved conviction.
Correct, 100%.
And there is truth, because Pirro's going to say,
I'm not actually attacking her when I say this. I'll elaborate a bit.
The juries are definitely not in her favor. That's one such example.
Okay, so that's what I was going to get to. But so there was also 6 Democrats who released that video advising service members to reject "quote unquote" illegal orders, but it was just to defy Trump. Going after Jerome Powell, and then. Okay, so actually, those are the examples I had written down. But yes, D.C. is an area where I think Trump got 4% of the vote in 2016. I don't know the numbers off the top of my head.
Was it that low? Wow.
It was that, let's say 4 or 5%. So the point being, let's just say less than 10%. So it is statistically more likely than not you're going to get a jury pool where every single person goes, F Trump, I don't care if the guy actually is guilty. Yeah. So that, I should clarify, like, that is the real reason, even though, like, this is kind of probably incompetence. It really just is jury nullification.
It probably is both and, you're right. Like, the deck is stacked, but it does appear that we're not sending our finest prosecutors to handle the D.C. Federal Prosecutor's Office.
Yeah, unfortunate. But so, all right, so what this is now is she's convening a special grand jury in D.C. This, from what I'm reading, has never been done before in D.C., or at least not recently. Now, how is this different from a regular grand jury? So a special grand jury can release a potentially critical report about the subject of the investigation, even if there's not enough evidence to bring the person to trial.
And that could be anybody, just a guy like David Hearn. It doesn't have to be a politician or something. Like, he's not even a public figure, but we could release a report on him.
Let me see.
I assume. I don't know.
Yeah,
but
let me see. I'll get to that in a little bit. But anyway, so there's it's a 23-member jury. And they can focus on either a single case or a string of cases. And then the report can name specific individuals, even if they don't find enough evidence to bring them to trial, as long as the report shows a preponderance of evidence of wrongdoing. So basically 51% or 50.1% or more. So I think this might be insurance of, hey, it's a DC grand jury. It might not go the way we want, but maybe if we can't convict or indict, rather, we can at least say, hey, here's all the dirt for, to be juicier.
Whether it's
to give the
David Hearn or somebody else that was unsuccessfully prosecuted.
Yeah, but we don't know if it's for the pool vandalism, but the timing does suggest maybe. Now, some other caveats. A judge has to sign off on the report. So that also could complicate things. And a majority of grand jurors have to decide to issue the report. Now, according to the Google machine, on the rare occasions that these special grand juries actually are convened, they're typically to pursue investigations of government officials or broad conspiracy cases and organized criminal activity. So that is the unanswered question, is who is this going after? And according to what I read, it can take 18 months for a special grand jury to wrap up, and they can be extended in 6-month increments by a judge. So my understanding is it's not until afterwards we'd even know who this person is. So this could go on until Trump's last year in office. So I'm not exactly sure what the goal is here, unless they can name the target before the report comes out. But
even though, as we've discussed previously, it pains me to defend scum of the earth cyclists like David Hearn, the hope would be that they are prepping a report on, say, I don't know if jurisdictionally this would be Comey, who I'm going to talk about in a minute, because this is DC and Comey's crime, allegedly in this case, was not in DC. But let's say Comey had done something in DC that they tried to prosecute and failed. Best case scenario, you get a report against someone like Comey, who was a political actor, did major damage through the targeting of his political opposition using the legal levers of power. In a situation like that, where it's a government public official getting scrutinized, this seems like a fair game type tool for people that abused government power levers before, getting the truth of the matter out to the public on what was done, even if it doesn't result in a criminal conviction. If it's for someone like David Hearn, who's just a guy, and even if he did do what he's accused of, he like pulled the lining off the reflecting pool, which you can't do. I get it. That's vandalism. But in the grand scheme of crimes worthy of a special investigation and a report that goes around the usual means of conducting business and protecting privacy at the Justice Department, if it is David Hearn, that's among the worst possible uses.
Maybe it's Fauci. Was my thought.
That would be another great use.
The timing would make sense there, and then it's also gonna. I mean, I imagine the way it's going to be is it's going to end with, "Hey, listen, Fauci's pardoned, so he can't do anything." However, there's a ton of stuff that he should have been able to. Maybe that's the end goal. It's the only way to get that out or something.
Yeah,
but we'll see. Yeah.
Well, I mentioned. Thank you for looking into that, because when I saw this, I just thought it was like. What they have, Jeanine Pirro has to save face and has to like revive this case against David Hearn because Trump yelled at her so much. And actually, they haven't. I was looking into it on the David Hearn thing. They haven't actually resolved what's going to happen there, because the Justice Department moved to dismiss the case for the reasons that Pirro described. Like, our evidence suggests it was faulty installation, but there's still a dispute ongoing because Hearn wants it dismissed with prejudice, meaning it can't be brought back. The Justice Department wants it dismissed without prejudice, meaning they could bring it back. So that's still getting sorted out. That's not decided yet.
Interesting.
So the Hearn situation is a strange one. But there are also developments in the prosecution of former... Go ahead.
Well, if they dismissed it with prejudice, and then he went out and vandalized for real...
Yeah. Different case, though. They could bring
so
charges.
That becomes a different. Okay, good. I didn't know if there was some like double jeopardy thing exemption.
No, if he went out and did a different, if he went out tomorrow and on a different date cut up the reflecting pool, his dismissal with prejudice would have no effect on that. Is my understanding.
I think what I was thinking of. I think there was some movie where the premise was a guy was accused of murdering someone who was still alive, so the case gets dismissed, but then it gives him a legal loophole where he can actually kill the guy. Anyway, that's irrelevant to this topic. But anyway, it's a movie, so you hadn't seen it.
Well, as long as he had a doctor's permission to conduct the murder in Massachusetts, it would actually be fine. Yeah, doctor's blessing. Get him to sign off on that paperwork. Now, there are also developments in the federal prosecution of former FBI Director James Comey. And recall, Comey is charged for supposedly threatening the president for his May 2025 Instagram post, in which he said he found an interesting or cool shell formation on a North Carolina beach. He just found it. That's all. And the shells say 8647, as in get rid of the 47th president, Donald Trump, possibly eliminate, kill Donald Trump. And I maintain this prosecution is total garbage legally. Even taken at its worst, this is not a threat outside First Amendment protection. It's too broad. It's not imminent. It's not specific. You're allowed to hope the president dies. People do it all the time from both or all political perspectives. This is plainly a political prosecution in revenge for political actions taken within the legal setting by James Comey himself. It can be a total garbage case legally, but also deserved. And that's what I think this is. It is a garbage case that is deserved for Comey because, yes, the punishment is the process, or the process is the punishment. However, Comey maintained that he didn't even know what 86 meant. He actually just thought it was a cool shell formation. That's all. And so when he posted it, totally unaware of what it meant. And when he was made aware by all those responsible people out there, then he took the post down. Now, that is also total garbage. But now there's evidence to say that, yes, that was a lie from Comey. or at least the FBI is supposedly in possession of such evidence. According to reporter Paul Sperry, an FBI affidavit for a search warrant in the case reveals that Comey's wife, Patricia, sent him a Google screenshot of the definition of 86 2 minutes before the post. And supposedly it's a non-violent definition.
Death penalty.
But what does that show? It shows forethought. It shows consideration of the meaning of 86. So cynically and probably accurately, they weren't unclear. They weren't wondering. They were actually making sure they were covering themselves, that there was plausible deniability about the meaning, and they would be protected from this sort of prosecution. So Comey's claim, for whatever garbage this case is, and I think it is legally, Comey's claim that he didn't understand the meaning was garbage. It apparently is provable garbage, so we'll see if that affects the case at all, but I don't think it will. Even if he knew what he was saying, I don't think it's a prosecutable threat.
It's such a pointless lie. Just say, I don't like the president. I think he should be removed from office. Like, that's the defense.
Yes, and that's a perfectly credible one. And that's probably the way to
prove it.
Yeah. Anyway, all right, time for some hoax hate.
Now, the nobody saw it happen, but it's totally a product of Trump's America hoax hate crime of the week.
Ah, shit, it's backwards. You think they'll notice?
This week, CNN highlighted the mysterious case of Tasia, I don't know how you say this name, Tasia Fortune, a black woman whose body was found hanging from a tree outside an abandoned house in Jackson, Mississippi on August 3rd. And there are little or few details known about what happened here. The obvious conclusion, the obvious concern
the Klan.
is that, yes, this is yet another racist lynching in the South.
What was Fortune doing when she was last heard from, and what do we know about these other hanging deaths?
Yeah, so her mother told ABC News that she last saw her on July 26th, that she had traveled to Kentucky for a family reunion. But it was about a week later, Fortune lived in Mississippi, that police found her body hanging from a tree outside of an abandoned home in Jackson, Mississippi. A 29-year-old, she was a mother of 4. Now, to this point, as you mentioned, police have not indicated publicly whether they officially consider her death suspicious, only that they're continuing to try and work through this to determine the causes or the circumstances surrounding her death. And they haven't identified publicly any suspects. Again, a lot we still don't know here, but obviously the raw imagery of a black person hanging from a tree in the American South evokes a very painful history.
Lynching does not mean hanging.
I guess they seem synonymous, but what's the distinction you're drawing?
Well, lynching is an extrajudicial killing.
As a matter of justice.
Yeah,
mob justice.
If there was someone accused of something you didn't like and you walked up to them and shot them in the face, that's a lynching. It doesn't have to be a hanging.
Okay, yeah. It's just that was at one point a preferred method of lynching.
It was popularized, but the thing is they just do this thing where they associate a rope with white people, so there's no circumstances by which a black person would be killed in that way, and I know the update to the story was not a white guy that's behind
We don't know yet. In fairness to CNN, police have not yet named a suspect, but this reporting just isn't going to mention the guy that you're talking about. Well, they are. They're not going to describe him. The boyfriend and the father of... Go ahead, sorry.
Wasn't that the fiery but mostly peaceful guy?
I don't know if that was him. It does look like him. Yeah, maybe it was him.
So their most credible reporter.
Yes. So there is a person of interest, if not a suspect. And this guy was arrested. And who was the guy arrested for unrelated things? The boyfriend, this woman's boyfriend, or at least at one point boyfriend, and indeed the father of one of her children on weapons charges last week. This guy's name is Terrence Anderson. Why was Terrence Anderson? First of all, he may be slightly pale, but I don't know. Some jurisdictions may count his charge and conviction as white crime. There's that great Twitter account I sent you, like white criminal of the day.
It's only in one direction too. It's very odd.
He's probably white criminal of the day. He's close enough, despite those dreads. Anyway, Terrence Anderson arrested on an unrelated charge within the last week or two. What is the charge? Felon in possession of a firearm. So I don't know what the entirety of his criminal record is, but he's done some stuff sufficient for a felony conviction, and that's why he can't have a gun. So Terrence Anderson has been interviewed by police. He denies any involvement, but he does admit he got into an argument with the dead woman, Fortune, around the time of her death. So CNN is just going to report that a man was interviewed and admitted he got into an argument. Just a man. Police have not disclosed how this man is acquainted with Fortune. Well, if police haven't disclosed it, many have disclosed it because a simple Google search will tell you the relationship. And in fact, ABC, fellow national news broadcaster, has reported that Fortune and Anderson were involved in a romantic relationship. In fact, police believe that they were currently involved in a relationship, and that he is the father of one of her children. She had 4 children, apparently through 4 different fathers. So talk to those guys first. One of them's probably up to something, but it sounds like this guy is. We're not going to describe the connection. We're not going to describe how that could be relevant. He's just a generic man, and that's all. And for what it's worth, at least according to the reporting here, where did I see this?
I mean, you know the race just by the exclusion of the term white male. If it was a white guy, they would have mentioned it.
Yeah, well, yeah, that too. Even the family of Fortune, the dead woman, they aren't pushing the racial motivation theories, according to this reporting in Town Hall. CNN is pushing them anyway. It's not even what the family is saying. And even in mentioning those other supposed recent lynchings, CNN's own reporting acknowledges those were not, in fact, racially motivated lynchings.
Now, you asked about the other 2 cases of people found hanging in Mississippi. One was a 21-year-old black man named Trey Reed. He was a student, though in that case, it was ruled a suicide, and the autopsy did not find evidence of foul play, though his family has been pushing to try and see an independent autopsy. And that third case was a white man in his 30s in Vicksburg, Mississippi, who was homeless, as we understand, but that one also died by suicide, according to the state medical examiner.
So the others weren't racist lynchings. This one might be, though, even though her black boyfriend was just arrested. We're not going to talk about that. We should confirm. I think you're right. I think it was Good Eye. I think that I don't have an image of him, but I'm pretty sure that is the fiery but mostly peaceful
Tim
guy.
just texted me and confirmed it is.
Okay. So that is the dude.
Still got a job.
Is there yeah, there he is right there.
Oh, perfect.
Isn't that the fiery but mostly peaceful guy? All right.
Bingo.
Great minds.
All right. Also, in Mesquite, Texas, someone found racist graffiti on the frontage road off Interstate 635. And despite the indictment that we've discussed recently, well, look who's still pushing the narrative.
In the middle of this large road in Mesquite, hate speech spray painted down the center, promoting white supremacy. Wording and historically hateful symbols sprawling down northbound I-635 East Frontage Road. After an anonymous caller tipped off our newsroom, we arrived in Mesquite, immediately met with 5 racist messages. We called the city, who rushed this truck to the area to verify what we said we were witnessing.
They're trying to psychologically intimidate people, and they really feel emboldened right now.
That's Jeff Tischhauser, senior research analyst with Southern Poverty Law Center. Their team working in partnership with communities to dismantle white supremacy.
It's just this false sense of superiority. Nonetheless, they use that false sense and do a lot of damage in our communities.
According to 2024 census data, Mesquite's population is black by majority. And according to officials, if those responsible for this incident were found and charged, it could be anything from vandalism to a hate crime.
We're not paid actors. It really happened.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like you said, crazy they interviewed the guy who did it in the story.
I know. First of all, do we even prosecute graffiti? You'd think that would be a useful use of resources. I feel like we don't do that.
No, it's a biological need. It's they only do it because they're starving or desperate.
But if the graffiti has a racist message, then it's a crime. Is that
yeah? Right. I assume if you spray paint "blacks are cool" on the Mesquite Highway, you're not going to get prosecuted. The Southern Poverty Law Center doesn't care about that.
Oh, man.
Now, as far as what was spray painted out there, white power with a correctly oriented swastika, so points for accuracy. This one, strange phrasing, kill all non-whites. Okay. And there's one, some kind of reference I don't understand. Jingles is God.
No one knows what it means, but it's provocative.
Okay.
I searched this, and Jingles is a gaming YouTuber. I don't know if it's a reference to like an internet guy. I don't know.
Maybe he's the guy behind this. It's all to get views for his gaming channel.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Now, do I know that the Southern Poverty Law Center did this? I do not. They're informants, maybe. People paid by that, what's her face?
That blonde chick?
Yeah. We talked about it on Wednesday. I forget the name of the woman. Heidi Byrick, I think is her name. Mm-hmm. Do I know that they did this? I do not. Would I be surprised to learn that the spray paint was purchased by the Southern Poverty Law Center itself? I would not, based on the contents of that indictment. What is crazy, though, like whether you believe the Justice Department and their evidence, and there's at least some good evidence to believe this is going on, that many in media do exactly what this woman did. Like whoever's responsible for this graffiti, the indictment showing in relatively compelling terms that money was taken from donors and given to the hate organizations to do stuff exactly like this to justify the Southern Poverty Law Center's existence and continued fundraising, that they will still run to the Southern Poverty Law Center and accept them. They greet them with the same scrutiny that Jason Arday got at Cambridge. Like, don't we have a... You could talk to them and say, notably, this is an interest group that has faced legal allegations recently for faking this stuff, indeed funding it themselves. Like, you're not even going to mention that consideration for the reader and the viewer?
I remember Gavin McInnes, too, argued when we had him on, because I think he's still suing the SPLC, but he had argued that the origin of the SPLC was after the assassination of Dr. King, and they named the group similar to King's group, the SCLC, in hopes that people would confuse the two or assume that they're related to get donations from that fact. So they started as a grift, they continue to be a grift, and they will always be a grift.
They need to update that name. It's no longer the Southern Poverty Law Center. It should be like the lady in the Southern Stealing Toothpaste Out of Biological Need Law Center, like the DSA lady in New York said, you know. I don't even understand, but yeah, the name is weird, Southern Poverty Law Center. And I assume that Gavin's right, that it's kind of a nonsense name that was just selected for the sake of confusing people, for attaching on to something that was already popular and trying to scoop confused donations, probably.
Probably. I mean, I wouldn't put it past them. So,
well, it's time to close out with Super Chat. Let's see what we got. We got to refresh. But if you are ready to go ahead. We left off after Mole Daddy.
So I'm at Guardian Game Studio. Another one about me. There's too many Guardian Game Studio. There's too many child abduction jokes about Matt Palumbo tonight. At worst, he looks like an H&R Block manager, not a kid toucher.
He touched young people.
If you guys need any tax advice, come right here.
It's been a long time since I've been to an H&R Block because they rip you off so bad.
Yeah.
Do they have a uniform, or is it like tax advisor discretion?
It must just be like a general kind of office guy look.
Why so much hate for like what is a totally normal plain colored collared short sleeve shirt?
Can't win. I'll have a new shirt next week.
I guess. All right. We'll see if it's in the budget, company budget. We'll get you a uniform.
That'd be good.
Thank you. That's our friend Spencer at Guardian Game Studio, who of course built the Matt Christiansen Media Mayhem game. As a reminder, it's 2 days left to get that coveted golden flannel edition, and then it's gone for good. You can't get the signed copy anymore. If that interests you, head on over to mattchristiansenmedia.com/game and throw some support for Spencer's project. He and his team put a lot of time into it, and it's going to be great fun, as Matt Palumbo can attest to.
It was a good game.
But we appreciate all of Spencer's work on that, and look forward to Guardian and Soren Game Studios' future productions as well. Thank you, Spencer. Ginger Ninja says, Part 1, just tuning in, I'll catch the rewatch. I'm not a told you so, but here you go. I spent months being called a doomer, a black pillar, and a leftist for opposing this illegal war in Iran from the start. Well, when you're...
Congratulations, butthead.
I don't know if I ever called you those things, in fairness, Ginger Ninja, but, I didn't want to assume the worst outcome, and I don't know that we've seen the worst outcome possible. Like, we're not seeing a whole bunch of Americans getting killed or something. But to your point, can anybody articulate the obvious benefit we have gained so far in the war in Iran? There's nothing that's objectively better today for it. The only argument is good things are coming later. You must be patient. But we're at 6 months now, man, for what was supposed to be a 2-week thing.
I supported it at first because Trump has just had so much success with these one-off strikes, and every time he did it, everyone would talk about World War III for a week, and then nothing materialized. And anyway, it turns out this one was the disaster that people thought it would be. But unfortunate.
So far, and again, it's not worst possible outcome, but would anyone have bought into this if the answer was, well, on the other side of this, you'll get basically status quo with Mujtaba in place of Ali Khamenei, and maybe they'll have some nuclear capabilities, we don't really know, and also gas will be $4 a gallon, and there'll be wide economic consequences for that. What is the gain? The gain is they are not a nuclear power. Well, as far as we know, they weren't a nuclear power when they were an emerging possible, maybe imminent nuclear power, though that was never substantiated either. So even for the most hawkish people, there is no way to say that a benefit has been achieved yet. It is only future benefit to be realized is the best possible argument.
This is part 2 from Ginger Ninja. This quote-unquote over in 4 days and quote-unquote Trump will pull out a quick win turns into Iran can't have nukes and I'm not going to apologize for $4 gas, another forever war. I am done with the Republican Party from here on.
I can't blame anyone who says I didn't vote for this, so I won't vote for this. I mean, the best case I can make for you, again, if I'm going back to 2024, would I tell you that I would abstain for voting and or vote for Kamala? I would not. Because I think the benefits, at least, of the border security are worth voting for. But do I blame you if you say, well, listen, man, I'm not down for more costly Middle Eastern wars. I'm not down for self-inflicted economic damage. Can I really say that you're out of line for that? The best sales job I can do for you is it's better than the alternative, which is often the best sales job that exists. But I'm actually very sympathetic with people who say, you know what? I can't affirmatively vote for these things. I really hate the supposed conventional wisdom, the line that well, if you don't vote, you can't complain. Bullshit. If it's 2 terrible options, you are not compelled to vote for one of 2 terrible things in order to complain, or even that's kind of a mischaracterization, to have concern for the direction of your country. Not voting is voting in many ways. It is rejecting the choice that has been presented to you. And that's why, by the way, if you have compelled voting, I guess the Aussies do, though I don't really know the system. You get fined if you don't vote or something. Yeah, it's total bullshit to try to force people into it. Therefore, if that's bullshit, why? It's because not voting is a valid exercise.
Although non-likely voters do lean Republican by double-digit margins, so it would actually help us if we did have that policy.
Well,
on the other hand, Democrats would then go balls out on pandering to certain groups with free shit. So it would
for the ginger ninjas of the world. Even though I don't blame you for your analysis or the action that you're taking, I do think if you take that perspective, you've got to come up with some solution. And I know that applies for the people voting Republican too. You think voting Republican is going to fix everything? No.
It's better,
but I do think it's better by comparison. And not voting is guaranteed to hand a worse alternative power. So not voting is valid, but I do think it requires some explanation or thought about what the solution is. And knowing Ginger Ninja, I'm guessing he does have some creative solutions in mind. I'm not implying that he doesn't. I know he's a thoughtful guy, and I know he's prepared for whatever the world may throw at him. So,
but on a serious note, mindlessly vote for every Republican in the midterms. just sorry, but it's for the greater good.
I don't know if I would get on board with that, but I get
just be a sycophant.
They haven't earned it. Anybody who tells me from a conservative libertarian perspective, whatever, the Republican Party has not earned my vote. Am I really going to lecture him and tell him they're wrong? What are the conservative wins or the pro-liberty wins or the American tradition wins other than we slowed down the Juans and Jorges and Ernestos from taking over the country?
Well, it's more
that
than
matters.
slowed down. We're
That
having
matters.
net outflow. We're having net outflows. I mean, the counterfactual is 20,000+ people a week pouring over the border, and then plus all the
Yes.
other malarkey with the I'm using that word a lot this show with like the temporary protected status people they're bringing in, knowing it's going to be permanent, or opening up the floodgates and asylum.
Yeah.
So like the border is like I weigh that more than any other issue. So for me, it's an easy choice. But obviously, if you care about other issues more than that, then
Is the
I kinda
idea
get it.
of affirmatively voting for something, like voting for a positive vision, is that pie in the sky, rose-colored glasses nonsense? It doesn't really exist anymore?
Kind of.
Or did it ever exist? Is voting merely the exercise
Well, here's
of
the thing.
keeping the worst possible people from power, which
Even
does
if-
matter?
Even the problem with fixing problems is that you can have a problem that's been there for 20 years. Once you fix it, within 6 months, everyone forgets what it was like before the problem was fixed.
Yeah,
and then you reset, and then it's, well, what have you done for me? That's what's changing in my life. And we're also in a soundbite culture where everyone's doom scrolling hours a day, where it's harder and harder to retain information and kind of have a timeline in your mind of what's going on and all that. Anyway, I'm just being a shill for the GOP at this point.
All right, fair enough.
Go on to the next question before
Millennial G, about the gas, Kennedy said, as in John. John F. Ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. Trump is saying the same thing, but less eloquently. Many presidents say this. It's normal. The problem is Trump said the exact opposite as a sales pitch to get himself elected, though. He said, I'm going to get gas under $2. I'm going to save you from the economic destruction that the Biden administration has created. And that's why people voted for him. And by the way, I don't have the full context of what John F. Kennedy said, so I can't.
This is good spin, though. I'm not gonna
Well,
lie.
hey, if you're trying to sell it as much as possible, all right.
Yeah, I'm not
I
joking,
agree.
by the way.
I agree that we all should be willing to sacrifice for the betterment of our country. I also am not in favor of the federal government itself imposing that sacrifice through this sort of self-imposed damage. I'll have to read exactly what John F. Kennedy meant, but when you hear things like ask what you can do for your country, I assume that means you stepping up voluntarily, not the federal government making you suffer by force and then telling you to take it and eat your ramen because burritos are $20 or whatever. Like, for the country to succeed, two things have to be true. Wealth and prosperity have to be built by free people, but also those free people have to be willing to step up to make sacrifices in difficult times. I just don't know that the government intentionally imposing nonsense that they said they wouldn't do, but then they do, which causes this sort of difficulty, is the kind of sacrifice that should be celebrated in that way. Like, is compelled sacrifice really the same thing as voluntary sacrifice? I don't know. I mean, I guess like everybody who got drafted and died, we view that as a noble sacrifice when technically they didn't really have a say in the matter.
Yeah, it's just right below that.
Like, that's how I think of myself when I'm filling up the family vacation card too. I pretty much died.
It's my Normandy.
I died in the jungles of Nam, almost. A bullet grazed my forehead, but I narrowly escaped. No, I get what you're saying, and I agree, Millennial. Like, I want to be willing to endure certain hardships for the betterment of my country. I just, number one, I don't like the idea of the government telling me what that hardship is going to be on their terms. And number two, I need to see the benefit. And I haven't seen the benefit of this sacrifice yet. We are suffering economically, or at least we're not prospering economically as much as we should. Why? What is the benefit that we're getting as a country? Not just for me, like the individual guy, but as a country, what is the benefit that we're getting out of this deal? I don't see it. Maybe it'll be realized and I'll eat my words and I'll do the ginger ninja, I told you so. Or you can do that to me, I guess. But I don't see the clear benefit that we're getting for that sacrifice either.
Yeah. Take
Anyway,
your
thank you.
610.
Thank you, Millennial.
Take your 610. If you want to see an all-time great thumbnail related to the WNBA controversy, look up, quote, the Archcast Lady Ballers. I promise it's cool for the stream.
Well, I can give it a search before I put it up. Let's see what we got. Well, it's bringing up a bunch of images of the Daily Wire movie Lady Ballers. What? Okay, so I see the show, but how can I get... I'm going to open the actual podcast that he's talking about. I'm going to pause it here so that it doesn't play. But how do I get the... I don't know how to get the image, unfortunately. Like, just the thumbnail image I can't get. So... sorry about that. I would pull it up if I had a way. But I can't see a way to pull up just the thumbnail image. But I'll take your word for it.
I believe it's cool, even though I haven't seen it.
It must be cool. Probably. All right. We all set? Anything else?
I think we're all good there, yeah.
Okay.
Cool.
Anything else you want to mention before we call it a night?
I'm going to invest in a whole new wardrobe to really win over our audience.
All right. The reviews are in.
Just try to be generally less gay and all that.
Maybe you should borrow the costume from James O'Keefe and Cam Higby. We'll see if...
that'd be good.
Yeah. Well, a certain... I mean, if you're not gay enough, then, of course, a lot of the bits are lost, too. And, of course, a lot of the Superchats don't work. So we need a certain level of gayness to maintain the direction of the show.
It's a spectrum, as I've been told.
Yeah. But that's all, off-air direction and philosophy talk. We'll deal with that on our own time. Appreciate everybody for tuning in tonight. Thank you to our live chatters and super chatters for making the live show a success. If you're listening on demand later, thank you kindly as well for supporting the show. Thanks to Matt Palumbo for his assistance as always. Find his latest book and follow him on X. All links in the description. Thanks to producer Tim for his assistance. Find everything show related at mattchristiansenmedia.com or mattis.gay if you prefer brevity. Join the MC Club if you enjoy the show. Plenty of supporter perks for you there. Keeps the duct tape production in operation. Pick up the new retro video game, Matt Christiansen Media Mayhem. mattchristiansenmedia.com/game, linked in the description as well. You got 2 days left to get that special coveted golden flannel edition, and then it's gone forever. As a reminder, I'll be out this week. No videos, no Wednesday stream this week, but we'll be back next weekend as normal. That's August 23rd. Hope to see you then. Have a great night and a great week.